I'm Dulcie Ben LaPalma, Amy Doyle, our superintendent extraordinaire, and Laura Taylor, our business administrator. And then our two student reps, Lucy Beardmore and Kip Hedquist, and Matt Stone over in the corner, running IT and making the magic happen. If we could have our third graders please come in to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a couple things to get through, third graders, all right? We have one set of minutes to approve from our meeting, our most recent meeting in November, which would have been on the 18th. So we have a motion to approve said minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. I abstain because I wasn't here. We are gonna, I don't know if they are gonna come in and listen or not. Do you want to wait on the student comments until after they're done?
That's fine.
Okay. Can we do board comments after we have the kids sing? Is that all right? Before we start, we did want to have a moment of silence. A Hopkinton School Board member, Aviva Nestler, passed away last week after a battle with some cancer, and we just want to take a moment. Andrew, I think you were going to say a couple of nice things about Aviva.
Yeah, I was just quickly going to say, so Aviva served on our board from 2017 to 2019, so it was before any of us were on the board. Before I was on the board, I was often one of the people in the audience, and she just, she was a parent, she was a beloved community member, she was really thoughtful, she asked a lot of really great questions, and really helped champion the updates to our science rooms at high school, and she'll be missed, and I hope, her memory is a blessing.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else they want to say about Aviva? Okay. We thank her for her service. And if we can just take a moment and just appreciate her. All right. In a transition, we have some third graders from Harold Martin to sing some holiday songs for us. Miss Reese, do you want to come on in?
Thank you for having us. We have the Harold Martin Singers, or at least some of them tonight. We're going to start with some songs that we're going to be using for our holiday sing-along. So, of course, this is the holiday season. If you're so inclined to join us, please do. We'll start with Jingle Bell, Jingle
Dashing through the snow, and one more so is sleigh. Over the hills we go, flying all the way. Some love to bring, making spirits bright. Fun it is to ride and sing a sleigh song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. It's to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, the light of the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all gather around the table. Singing We want to play with the youngest to be and well playing. Chance we come to
Big smiles. Pretend you like.
Perfect. Let's get police number. We have one last one.
Okay,
more.
that's great.
And you guys sing it.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Happy Hanukkah. We wish you a Happy Hanukkah. We wish you a Happy New Year. We wish you a Happy Kwanzaa. We wish you a Happy Kwanzaa. We wish you a Happy Kwanzaa and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Happy Holiday. We wish you a Happy Holiday. We wish you a Happy Holiday and a Happy New Year.
Can we take a photo with you guys?
Yes.
Thank you. And if you guys want to stay, our student representatives are going to be doing updates as the student reps for the whole district, but you're also welcome to leave after the picture, okay? That was terrific. You guys were awesome. You ready?
I'm gonna take the photo tonight.
Okay.
Let's get into your two.
Gotta really squeeze in there. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's great.
Great job, guys. Yeah, that was awesome. Stay set for next week. All right?
Thank you. Now, school or is it just third grade at the same age?
Third grade, second grade, and third grade are at night, I think, and they one are so they'll take
You wanna? You can wait for just like a
one,
minute.
2 at 12:15 and 3 just third
You
grade.
have to go get Tildy. Okay. What?
We're gonna move into one too.
Okay.
I'm gonna be into one.
All right.
So you want me to represent?
All right, we have a little bit of a switcheroo to help get some little kids home for dinner on time. We have our first public comment portion of the night. If you want to come on up. Okay, 3 minutes. We'll do it again at the end. Thanks, Lauren. Clementine with one. We now get to hear from our student reps, Lucy and Kip. Tell us all the info.
All right. Well, again, mostly we come bringing good news. For starters, like fall season sports finished a little bit ago. Quite a successful season all around with our girls cross country team winning states. But then on top of that, we have some other recognitions that have come out recently. The Concord Monitor recently just posted an article with their fall 2025 players of the season. We had 2 players, one of which was Maddie Lane for cross country, girls cross country, and Finn Murphy was the the capital area soccer player of the year, which was quite a lot of fun to see. And another thing is we had our first snow day on Tuesday, which was quite appreciated by myself, and but my little sister was definitely sad that there was no school, so I think that's a good testament to Maple Street and how that's going. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of other field trips coming up, including one I've got the chance to participate in before, which was the caroling, the language caroling field trip. So the Spanish, German, and French classes will all go to like retirement homes and do some caroling in French, Spanish, and German there. It's a lot of fun, especially for the students of different languages trying to muddle their way through songs in languages that they do not speak whatsoever. But it's a great time, and there's a lot of big smiles. So I don't think anything's wrong there. And then take the rest.
Yeah, so, with the snow day and then coming off Thanksgiving break, I think it's been hard to get back into the rhythm, but I think we can do it until the winter break. So last Wednesday at the start of the Thanksgiving break, there were the alumni games for basketball, which is a yearly tradition. I think they get a pretty good crowd. For women, the alumni won. It was buzzer beater, pretty crazy game. But then the high school boys beat the alumni. And then on Thanksgiving Day, there was the turkey trot, which is another great yearly tradition. Mr. Sable organizes it. This year it hit the capacity of runners. I think it was 200, maybe 250. But it was a great turnout. And then all of the proceeds went to the Human Services Department and then also the Anna O'Reilly Scholarship Foundation. So winter sports starting. Middle school basketball, boys and girls both had their first games of the season yesterday, and then ice hockey, alpine, high school basketball has started, and then high school Nordic starts next week. And then also right now, Maddie Lane, who Kip already mentioned, she's at Nike Nationals in Portland, Oregon. She qualified at our Nike Cross Regionals in New York, the overnight field trip a couple weeks ago that the whole team went to. She got 4th place out of all of New England plus New Jersey. And so she's at Nationals now. She races on Saturday. I believe it's free to watch. It's online, live stream. Yeah. And then upcoming, some winter band and chorus concerts for high school, and I believe Harold Martin coming up. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then middle school is in 2 weeks. And then as a reminder, anyone who ordered holiday plants from the junior class, you can pick up your orders tomorrow at the high school from 3 to 6.
Amazing. Have we ever sent a runner to nationals before? Do we know?
Last year she went.
She also went to nationals.
For cross country too?
Yeah, for
Jeez.
And track.
Very cool. Any questions for our students?
Midterms are coming up as well, right?
Yeah, actually, midterm schedules got released today, I believe.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Being the
Yeah.
bearer of bad news.
It's all right. We'll get there. We'll get through it. It's fine. It can be coming up in January, so that shouldn't be too bad. I quite like midterm week. Not a popular opinion, but
Definitely not.
probably my favorite week of the year.
Okay.
But no, it'll be fine. So
Yeah, I did hear some teachers. They were excited. They were saying it was one of the earliest the schedule has ever come out. So kudos to the administrators who got that done.
Wait, and when is Winter Carnival? Did you tell?
That's February.
Oh, it's like
student
wait.
council has already started the planning and the works of that, and some other like side things going on too.
Got it. Okay, cool. And everyone got their report cards, their first trimester report cards at the same time, or does high school get them differently from?
We just get semester.
I think we just get semester
We just
report
get
cards,
semesters,
and then
yeah.
middle school gets the trimester because they have a bit different. They're all semester.
Yeah.
Semester.
They just have that weird trimester block, I think. At least they did when I was there.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, guys. Always appreciate it.
Welcome.
Rob, any comments for this evening? Jonathan?
I think the only thing that occurred to me is as we take pictures with little kids, we should always keep in mind before posting them to make sure that the parents are all okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming we have a no photo list.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, good.
Yeah. Okay. Andrea?
Hey, Simone. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I loved hearing from the kids. I thought that was terrific, and I think Ms. Reese does a terrific job getting kids to come out and sing in public, which is a brave thing, which is cool. All right, cool. We'll start with principals and athletic director update. What do we want to do? What did we do last time? Remember? You want to start with Patrice?
We're gonna go opposite words.
There we go. That means Dan Missouri.
Okay, so Kim.
Okay.
Oh, Dan's coming.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This young, it's okay. Well, these two over here took all my thunder, gave them more report. I think they know more about athletics than I do. I wanted to hear them sing. I had a nice fitting carols too, but we'll see. So athletics things have gone very well. We're kind of in that crazy winter where you get one sport starts, and then 2 weeks later another sport starts, then another one. One of the unfortunate aspects is we did have to make cuts in middle school basketball, and we did have to in high school basketball as well for the boys' side. We just have so many kids who are interested in sports. It's one of those things. You've heard me say it before, we badly need another gym in this district. Love to see that happen someday. Just one of those things that would be really nice. The gym is used so much. Hopes are high for the winter sports teams. I want to thank you. The coaches have all been filled as long as you guys vote tonight to approve the middle school assistant Nordic position. We ended up with 36 kids signed up for middle school Nordic this year. Last year we had 12. So it's very hard to plan for that, and it's just all of a sudden these kids are coming out of the blue, which is great. It's a lifelong sport. For these kids to do that, that's great. But 36 kids with one coach is not safe, and I appreciate you considering and hopefully approving that other coaching position for that. The one kind of interesting tidbit that I'd like to talk about a little bit is I was approached recently by Bishop Brady about looking at the cooperative football team. And as you know, when football fell through with Hillsborough a couple of years ago, we had some kids who fell through the cracks a little bit of not participating in any sports, and we now have an opportunity to do this if we are so inclined. One of the things about the NHIA, when you join cooperative teams together, they add the enrollment of the different schools. So for instance, with Hillsborough, who is now a Division IV football school, if we joined them, we would have to jump up to Division II because our enrollment would put us in Division II. That was a real problem in football. We got killed. We played these schools that were much bigger than we were. Our kids were getting discouraged because they were getting beaten badly, both in terms of numbers and just overall size. Area schools, I've looked at area schools. If we were to join a school like Bow, they would make the jump from Division II to Division I, which is a big jump to make. John Stark, same thing, Division II to Division I. Our 390 kids puts all these schools up above us. Puts them into a much bigger division that I think would be very difficult. The one school that we possibly could partner with would be Concord. I've talked to the Concord AD in the past, and they have no interest in us joining Concord. I kind of like it into our lacrosse program that's pretty big and successful. if Hillsborough came to us and said, hey, do you want to add us for lacrosse? I think I know my answer would be no, thank you. We've got plenty of kids. We don't need more. And it's hard to say, gee, Hillsborough kid's going to come and take a position from a Hopkinton kid. And I think Concord sees that the same way with our kids. So that one's off the table. Bishop Brady is a Division IV football school. It's the smallest football school. This year, their season, they had to cancel their season partway through. Actually, before it even started, they ended up with about 10 or 11 kids playing football. You just can't field a team with that. So their AD contacted me probably a month ago or so and said, what do you think? If you joined with us, we would be in Division III. It's not as big a jump as some of the others. We could compete in Division III. And I said, what do you think about it? I tested the waters. It's always a fine line. Do you talk to some of the kids first to see if they're interested and get their hopes up, and then say, we'll talk to the board afterwards? Or do you talk to the board first and say, is this even a possibility before talking to the kids? So what I did is I kind of took a few kids in my office little by little, and one at a time, and just said, hey, give us a little down. Well, do you have any interest in football? I think there is some interest there. I think we probably have between 8 and 12 kids who might be interested in playing football if that were to happen, as an opportunity to join Bishop Brady. Because this is a program that Brady's had for some years, they do have everything in place. They're telling me there's going to be no cost to the district for year one if this were to happen. Games being played at Bishop Brady, they've got the field, they've got the coaches, they've got everything. Moving down the line, if this were to go, we would at some point have to help with uniforms, because uniforms do have to say Hopkinton Brady or whatever the team name came up with. Possibly with some of the helmets as well. Again, they've got to be color coordinated with the teams. But that's pretty much it at this point. And so before tonight, to at least try to gauge some interest. If we were going to do this, it would be for next fall. We have to go to the NHIA and tell them scheduling is starting pretty soon and say, this is something we might be interested in doing, or you know what, we're just not interested. And if we're not interested, Brady's going to look elsewhere. I don't know if they're going to find anything or not, or if those kids will look happen. But that's kind of where we are with things, and so I would have to test the waters with you a little bit to see what the flavor is, and if there's any interest in pursuing football in this world.
Okay.
And I just want to point out the MOU that Bishop Brady sent over is in your board support.
Yep. Any questions?
Well, I mean, first, Dan, I think that the cooperative programs we've had in the past have been successful. They've been good for kids, gets us some dynamics. I mean, we've had people be solo individuals like wrestling at bow. I think it's just another opportunity that we can't fit that niche for those kids. So I think that's great. Cost-wise, I guess that's the only bailiwick in terms of uniforms, helmets, and I'm assuming personal gear kids take care of. So it's really the helmet and the uniform. But I would guess that per student athlete, it's not a huge difference from other sports where you're not buying, baseballs and bats. You're buying helmets that are going to be around for a while. So, if you kind of think of those costs and stretch it out over the years of their use, it probably seems like a lot up front, but over the same amount of years, it's probably an equitable thing. So, I would fully support moving forward with that concept.
Thank you, Frank. Stay, talk about just for a second. For the John Stark Hopkinton hockey team, for instance, that's exactly what they've got a booster club that does most of that stuff. Football's the same way, and Brady has a booster club as well. There's some costs, as I said, down the road, but year one, they're not. So I'm told.
I guess I would want to know some more about it and consider it. What would the timeline be for needing to get a position from the board on it?
To get a position for what?
From the board, like when would you need to know?
So scheduling is starting probably next month or so. So we'd have to give them an idea, the NHIA, that yes, we are interested in moving forward with this. Really, as I talked to the AD at Brady, Brady had a meeting with them this week. Is this a red light, green light, or a yellow light from the board? And
So within about a month?
I'd say about a month, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Suzanne or Andrea?
I'm processing.
I had a question. I just don't know how this part works. If a student participates in a cooperative, they still go through our same, like they need to go through not parents, where
My school
like
bus.
pay, yes, my school bucks do the athletic fee, and all of that fun
If-
stuff.
If we pay for the sport, then yes, we charge the ACCA. We've
Okay.
had kids who compete as individuals where the family picks up the entire cost.
Sure.
And we don't charge for that. We don't do any of those. But for the other ones we do the impact test. They're our kids. They're under our rules. So
Right.
we're the ones that get the supplements.
Would we, if it had no cost to us, at least in the first year, would we still want to do that, at least considering that we would be like putting aside that money in preparation for paying for uniforms down the
That would be a
line?
board decision. My take on it is if it was not going to cost us anything to do it, we should not be charging.
Okay.
There's no cost to Hopkinton taxpayers in that case. We have done with other programs similar to this, including Hillsborough, which is football. The families are responsible for getting the kids to and from practices every day. We do the same thing.
Okay.
We used to have the families would sign saying that they understand they're responsible for getting the kids there.
Right.
Whether they choose to drive themselves, if they want to have seniors drive, whatever, they're leaving our parking lot, you own them.
So even transportation to games and things.
Transportation to games, the bus would leave from Brady, just like a bus leaves for Hopkinton.
So they'd be
from John Stark
responsible to.
to getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they would ride the buses. One of the questions is an aside, I don't know if it's coming up or not, but I asked about a Catholic school. I said, what do you do with these kind of things? And are there requirements that our kids pray before games, for instance, or something? And the answer was no, that they have a cooperative hockey team with Bo right now, a girls team. And what they do is if kids choose to participate in things, that's completely up to them, but there's no requirement. And I said, that's fine, that's all I need to know, I just need to know it's not a requirement. If kids choose to, they may.
And then I know we've had cooperative programs before and currently do with hockey. What are the requirements that we have around coaching? I know that there's a lot in here around the coaching certifications, but do we know what Brady does in terms of coach training around sportsmanship, sexual abuse, everything?
Sure, any NHIA school, the coaches have to go through, they have to be vetted, there's a number of things they have to do. They have to be what's called ASAP certified or similar, which is a coaching principles class. They're all certified in first aid CPR, they all have concussion classes, they all have heat exhaustion classes. I think those are the four that they need to do. They're all vetted by the school district. The coach that they have now has been vetted by Bishop Brady School District. The coaches that we have for hockey, I was actually on the hiring committee for the past committee, the past coach and the current coach, but they are all run through John Stark. They're the ones who do all the paperwork
Yep.
for them. And this would be the same case. Brady would oversee their coaching staff. They would be responsible for that with feedback from me.
Yep.
And I would just make sure that, yes, all the requirements.
And they
for
get
coaching
background
are-
checks and everything, like all the basics. Okay, great.
Absolutely. Yep.
I had two more questions. So the MOU, it looks like it's actually a 2-year agreement, beginning with the 26-27 season and then continuing through 27-28. So it looks like it's free for
Yes.
2 years. But there is a line that the schools will carry liability insurance covering football. Is that an additional cost, or is that something we already have?
That's a great question. It's funny, I saw that in the MOU too, and that was a question Michelle I never talked to Michelle about that with Hillsborough. I don't know, Laura might have an answer to that one.
Okay.
But we've had football, we've had ski jumping for years before that. I don't know of any project specific requirement you do those. The reason why it's a 2-year contract is that the NHIA approves cooperative programs for 2 years. And every 2 years you have to reapply. So we do it with John Stark every 2 years. And that was the idea there. The one thing that I did say to him as an AD, and I said, I felt really badly for our football kids before who kind of got just dropped. And is this something that you see moving forward? I'm not looking for a long-term marriage here.
Yeah.
But I want to know that you're not going to drop us in 2 years, and that's what, that you're committed to this. And he said, absolutely, I would not do that to you. That is not our plan at all.
Yeah, because that was true. That was hard.
It should not be an additional cost to our property liability insurance, but I'll reach out to Primex just to guarantee.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm just wondering about, because I'm a huge advocate for sports. I think kids learn a lot about themselves and teamwork, which is one of those durable skills that you need after graduation. But I have a question about, you. I mean, we have what 70% of our kids playing sports, and all over. This is another site, like a home game that's now 30 minutes away, and you like to be at things, and it's not like you can just walk across and check out that game. Or and like with football, we have a home court official. Are we? What's that going to do to your schedule? Or are we going to send? I know football's a big draw, and so people tend to go, and there'll always be reps from Hopkinton, but an official Hopkinton representative there. Like, what does that do for us?
I appreciate you saying that, Suzanne. Thank you. It is one thing, and selfishly, I looked at this and said, man, that's a lot of Saturdays that are shot.
Yeah.
In the fall, again, I think big picture here. I do think for the kids, it's not for me. There are going to be some Saturdays, and I'll tell you there are 2 Saturdays in the fall that I would struggle to make a game because I've got family commitments and stuff. I know that. And if we have a home game on those days, I would see if I can get somebody else to cover. When we had the Red Hawks here, I tried to make the majority of games. I did not make every single game. It has never been stated to me that I have to make every single home game because I just can't do that.
No, but
everybody knows that.
I know your ethic, and you turn up.
Appreciate
Oh, there's Dan.
I do my best to be a little bit nice, and I would try to do that. I'm comfortable moving forward with it.
Okay. Straw. Do we want a straw poll? Do we want to go down and everyone can just say if they're red, yellow, green? Does that sound fair?
Oh, I like that.
All right. Ralph.
Green.
Jonathan.
Yellow.
Okay. Suzanne.
Green.
Okay. Andrea. Ugh, I'm in between yellow and green, but I think it would be
Puce.
I know. That's right. Chartreuse, something terrible, not a good color. But I think the 8 to 10 kids who want to play football is higher than I actually would have expected. So I think it's a creative way to help get them out on a field. Having it be a parochial school does give me pause, and so I think there's just work that I would ask of you, just check in with the kids and make sure that they know and that their parents know, and have lanes of. And I trust Bishop Brady will communicate as well, but we're a public school. But I think it's a great way to get kids out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Then I think my next step would be to start making this a little bit better known among the kids and just see what we have for interest.
Yeah.
And if we have 4 kids that are interested in doing it, it's not going to fly.
Yeah.
If we do have 10 or so, or 8 to 12 who want to do it, then I would ask us to move forward.
Okay.
Just along the lines of what we've been talking, is Bishop Brady is private?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just thinking not even just about praying, but about cultural, how that matches up with a public school. Obviously, rules that apply to us don't apply to them.
Most of them do. When they join the NHIA, if you join the NHIA, you agree to follow all of the rules that are set forth by the NHIA. So when you've got schools like Brady or Deerfield or Trinity or
Bishop Kirk.
Which
or
we
St.
fly.
Thomas, St. Thomas, all those schools are saying the same thing. We will have the exact same standards for all of our kids in terms of grade requirements, in terms of age, not allowed to have PGs, those kind of things. So we all follow the same set of rules. It is a little bit unique that we have private and public schools together in one organization, but it's not solely the district that does that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Nice work.
All right. Thank you. You guys for doing my heavy lift. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I have to look to watch Maddie's race. All right,
I
great.
was looking at that too. Yeah.
All right, Kim, come on up. Hello.
Good to be back.
Great to see you.
Welcome.
So we've had so much going on at the high school, so just kind of highlight some of the things going on. Currently, there's a food and hygiene drive going on by the Interact Club. That's continuing until the 12th of December to support Friendly Kitchen in Concord and Families in Transition in Manchester. Students can bring in food to their advisory teacher, or monetary donations are allowed as well. Questions can be directed to Aubrey Weldon or their advisor, Sally Olson. So I feel like that's a really good one. A couple of recent things going on. On November 20th, we had the World Language Honor Society induction. So we inducted 20 students amongst Spanish, German, and French. It was a really beautiful ceremony, and the teachers who put that on were just fantastic with their planning. We've also had a number of students with music auditioning for statewide auditions.
Wow.
A couple for the New Hampshire Band Directors Association Festival, as well as the All-State Music Festival. So hopefully we'll have a number of our students represented with those groups. Last month, and up to October 2, Mrs. Squibb's ELO class collected donations for the Caring Backpacks project. And they were able to assemble 11 projects to donate to students in need. Also, at the end of or beginning of last month, the Hopkinton Grand State Challenge team competed and did fantastic.
Wait, are we allowed to know that yet? Did it already get televised?
Like we qualified.
Just the qualifying.
Oh, okay.
They won't tell us the fun.
Okay, cool.
So they did qualify for that. So that will be on January 11th is when they are facing off for that, and matches will begin airing in February. And the student-led ethical discussion group club continues to host bi-weekly student-led discussions with about 30 to 40 students participating in that. Recent topics include AI ethics, relationship dilemmas, gender norms. A smaller group prepared for the National High School Ethics Bowl. And to prep for that, on November 12th, they participated in a scrimmage at St. Anselm College and received feedback from the faculty there. They are going to compete in the Good Child Regional Ethics Bowl on January 31st. For our school counseling department, school counselors are meeting with students on the regular for our seniors, preparing them for graduation. Also with our ninth graders, the counselors are going into the classes to talk about studying habits, mental health awareness. In the middle school, for the health and wellness class, the school counselor goes in to do the signs of suicide training, which is very much needed. We're also starting programs like Movement with Mentors to give students a chance to see upperclassmen students who are good role models and to get the kids moving at the end of the day. A couple extra things that were not in the board report. New things. One of the best parts of my job is monthly, Chris and I meet with all the student leaders to discuss things at the high school about what they would like to see, what's going on, what would they like to improve. And one of the questions from the senior class was about SATs.
Oh.
Because a number of them, I guess, would like to take the SATs for a second or third time on their own. And they were looking for a location that's closer. Around us, there's not much. I think the closest might be Souhegan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Manchester, I think, maybe.
Sure.
So I did look into that, and we did put in the application to become a test site.
Awesome.
So our first date, hopefully, if everything continues to go through, would be in May. And that's something we can do a couple of times throughout the year.
That's great.
Our staff gets paid, whoever would like to do it, by College Board. So there's no payment for us.
That's great.
And another thing that just came up today is our math empowered group of teachers. So we have a few math teachers that are involved with that, are going to be hosting the cohort in February. So the entire cohort and the woman who runs the program are coming to our school, and she will model lessons using the best practices with our classes, one in the high school and one in the middle school. So the teachers not only get to see it real life, but they also get to have their students experience that type of instructional method. So it's a great opportunity. I got a chance to talk to Ms. Kovar, who's one of the math teachers that's in that group, and she had fantastic high praise for it. She thinks it's fantastic. She would like the program director to come see her class because she wants feedback, and it's a great opportunity for our math program.
That's great. I had a question for you, actually. How's our math team doing? We don't hear about it much, and I love math team.
I don't know.
You guys, is it still a thing?
Yeah, so
It's definitely a thing.
definitely a thing. We
Are
have
you both mathletes?
yeah,
course.
I'm like
Great.
captain of the math team.
Great.
Fun. And then yeah, we have a math meet coming up on Wednesday.
Great.
Yeah, next Wednesday, so that'll be fun. We get quite good participation. I think Lucy will be able to come to this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. That'll definitely help with some scoring. Yeah, we should do quite well this year just based off how we're doing. Definitely a lot of qualifiers for like the state thing. We compete in small schools, so it's a lot of fun. Our best finish was second, losing to Bishop Brady, who is very good. I don't think we'll be able to beat them, but who knows? We'll see how well we end up this year. So, but it's going quite well again.
Great, amazing. Any questions for Kim?
What was the name of the math program again?
Math Empowered.
Is that a new program? Or is that something they've been doing?
Yeah, it's not curriculum, it's just using best practices, so it can be adapted to any sort of curriculum.
Cool.
Liz Kovar told me that is actually a teacher who taught middle school math and high school math in Concord and wanted to expand to help other teachers. So she moved away from teaching and started this whole program, and now she has over 20 teachers in this cohort that she works with, going around to different schools and helps model it or to provide feedback for teachers who are trying it out. So it's a great way. The kids get up out of their seats. A lot of the times they'll use whiteboards on the wall to work together. So it's a different way to teach math than just here's the math you practice. Instead, kids are investigating on their own, they're working collaboratively, kind of makes it a little less pressure for the kids.
Yeah, it's great.
And we have 8 teachers total that are in that cohort. So we have high school teachers, middle school teachers, and then several teachers from this building. So we've been doing it 2 years. Is this the second year, Carrie? And we pay for that PD out of Title II. So it is to improve instruction for students.
That's
Oh,
great.
that's cool. I knew that my student learned math that way, and I did not know that it was because of that program, because they talk about going up and being able to and liking it, but doing math on the whiteboard with small groups.
That's great.
No, I was going to say, if you want to pass on to either Mr. Kelly or Ms. Preserve for the sled group, if they want to turn that also into a tour. My kiddo's there, Hopkinton alum, maybe from that perspective, who's had really good success because of her background from Hopkinton. And she would be happy to kind of turn that into a little tour for that group if they wanted to.
Awesome. I'll pass that on.
I just voluntold her.
Anything else for Kim? I have one other question. Anyone else? Great. My only other question was I read an article like a month or two ago in the paper talking about how library usage and checkout rates at high schools that have banned phones are up. And so this isn't necessarily something we need to send Donna Zecca on a data thing, which she probably has number lodged in her head since Donna. But like maybe for the next time that you come back, if you could talk a little bit about what it's like looking like in terms of accessing books, or if that's up, and we might just be even. But I think I'm just trying to think of other ways that we're seeing like qualitative benefits from not having phones be around in the building.
Absolutely.
Cool.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Kim. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. Rates are up
My own-
like a lot.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Sindoni.
So I won't go over everything I've already put in the board folder. I know Kim just mentioned the Math Empowered cohort. We also hosted in November. We had a group of teachers come here, and they were in a fifth grade classroom. So it's great. It is honestly some of the best PD I've ever seen, and it really teaches children to think and work through a productive struggle in mathematics, and it's fantastic. So once again, you saw it in my report, another fifth grader has been nominated to the Executive Council for New Hampshire Kid Governor, Chase Aldridge. His platform was littering, so we will go to the inauguration on the 27th at the State House with the governor and everybody else. That's really a fun thing, and kids really get to see like the democratic process and the election, so it's great. On Wednesday morning, all of the sixth graders went into one classroom and participated in a Zoom call with Mrs. Roth's daughter, who is a biology student, and she is studying abroad, and they got to Zoom with her and biologists in Kenya And they learned about sea turtles in a sanctuary that she's interning in. So they got to ask questions about conservation, ocean conservation, the sea turtles themselves, and it was great. It lasted over an hour. The kids were really, really engaged. Mrs. Roth has this knack for arranging these crazy Zoom calls. Last year it was someone on the top of Mount Washington. So the kids loved it, and it aligned perfectly with her unit on oceanography. Title I tutoring began on December 1st. Mrs. Neff, Mrs. Smart, and Mrs. Klarner are doing that tutoring. We're doing it twice a week for an hour. It's been great. Session 1 will end on January 23rd. We plan on doing at least 3 sessions. And we are welcoming families, Title I families, on January 12th for a family evening. We'd like to thank everyone that contributed to the recent food drive. All the food that was collected went directly to the Hopkinton Food Pantry. A huge thank you to HISA and New Hampshire Delta Dental. They donated over $5,000 for an adaptive tricycle for 2 of my current students, but will benefit future students as well. Mrs. Dineski, I don't know if you know, she's a marathon runner, so she knew Delta Dental, like Tom Raffio, really well, and she helped us. I cannot wait for these students to use that piece of equipment. Environmental Action Club was here a few weeks ago. They would like to plan a clothing swap sometime in the spring, maybe in conjunction with the middle school, which would be great. And Spirit Week is scheduled for the week of December 15th. Student councils organize that. There's 5 different themes for every day. It ranges from cozy sweaters to PJs to holiday character day. And you should see the characters. It's unbelievable. So a lot of fun stuff going on.
Amazing. Any questions for Dr. Sandoni? How's the garden?
I almost tallied it up. It is like, we can barely keep up with it. It
Busting
grows
out.
so fast.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It was to the point where the cafeteria barely needed to order vegetables this week because of the kale and the lettuce. And Tracy Barker said, could you grow this type of kale because you can do this with it? And we were like, sure. So we changed our kale production.
Amazing.
Yep. So it's fantastic. Tracy and I were talking about how we maintain this over Christmas. Like, we have to clean it. So
Yeah.
you have to take them all out
Right.
and start over
Right.
because you have to clean it. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a labor of love.
It is.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Oh, a random question. How's the book vending machine?
I love that book vending machine.
Yeah.
So every student gets to be student of the week.
Yeah.
And we read the little blurb. And we always say, come on down to the office to get
Do you
your
read it,
token
like,
to the book
over-
vending machine. Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
yes,
that's so
I
great.
do. I do. And they get a token and they get to go down and choose a book.
do that.
Sometimes they get stuck, but I have the magic key and I can open it and I can get them out.
So great. I love that continues to be
Yeah.
a fun thing.
I'm on a book
Yeah.
vending machine.
Mhm.
So
At home from the
Do
vending
you?
machine.
Yeah. I need to share with you his little write up. It was funny.
I shudder to think.
It was cute.
Anything else?
Thank you.
This is great. Thank you.
Gary.
All right. Patrice, you ready?
Excited about that Zooming
Ms. Brown, I know.
because it
So fun.
segues into work-based learning. And we see these opportunities.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. I'm excited to talk to you about a lot of the things that I shared in the board report because we have been doing a ton of activity at Harold Martin just around celebrations and involving the community. So I feel like the fall is always really great for that. We had the fire department in for our fire prevention week, which is a huge highlight to everyone. I think even the adults like getting in the fire truck, pretending that they are the firefighter, like hitting the buttons. And then, we had the Halloween celebration. That was probably the most nerve-wracking time for me this fall because if you guys remember, if you probably don't because it didn't matter to you, it was supposed to rain. And all I could think about all week long was how am I going to fit the entire town in Harold Martin in a safe way so that we can parade around the hallways and what is the passageway. Luckily, it did not come to that. I did start asking around, like, have we ever canceled the Halloween parade? And they're like, yes, it's not popular. And I was like, okay, so we're going to have to come up with a plan. We also joked that we were going to just carry umbrellas and, like, have everyone march out the streets, but luckily it ended up being a beautiful day, and I feel like the entire town came out as per usual. So that was really nice, lined up both sides of the road. We did, early this year, we did our Tiger presentation. So Tiger is a theatrical performance group out of Plymouth who focuses on different elementary school concepts, friendship, kindness, playing on the playground. And they do it through humor and skits and song and dance. And we always do it in the spring. And they had called us and said, if you let us do it this week, we will give you X% off. And we're like, deal, we will make that happen. So it was actually a really good start for the year, though, to put that first and really start embedding that language. So Miss Kleiner, in addition to the Fly 5 work she was doing with that curriculum, really started talking about those tenets of Tiger and what that means. The kids love it. It's hilarious. It's over the top. They are like, oh, my belly hurts, and the actors go running around, and the kids are like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And it's really to get into the moment and really drill down to some of those themes. We also did our annual Veterans Day Assembly and had some local veterans in. The student council did a nice job for third grade, and they really ran the whole assembly. They talked about what Veterans Day meant and the history, and then they introduced our guests. Our guests got a chance to speak. They ended up with a song, and then we were on our way. It's a really nice tradition for us each year to have some of our local veterans in. We talked this year about how we could extend that, because we do have so many family members of students who do serve. So how do we invite them in, and what does that look like, so that we can make it bigger than what we've done in the past. We did just schedule it for inside today, or this year, which was nice. In the past, we've tried to be outside the flagpole, and it can get, weather dependent, a little tricky in October. So, or November. And then we had our Thanksgiving food drive as well, and we had more food than we've ever collected. We had students, past students, coming to drop off food from their farms and their gardens to add to the pile, which was great. When we had talked to members of the food pantry, they said, normally we ask you guys to provide us the fresh fruit for the baskets, but we're so low right now, we'll take anything. So we started collecting everything. So that was really nice. The kids were really excited to come in each day to see how much was on the tables. I had to get more tables. I was like, at some point we're going to have to move this out of the office because it's taking up all of our space. But it's a really good reason to be displaced, right? Because you have so many. And there was so much cabbage. Tracy was so kind to let us use her fridge because I didn't know what to do with all these root vegetables. And I was like, can I keep them here? Do I refrigerate? And she's like, let's just keep them safe. I'm like, that sounds great. So that was really nice. Things that I didn't mention in my board report, but that are going on as well right now at school, is this week is the Hour of Code. So Michelle Marino has been working on different coding activities during STEAM time, and then has shared those out with classroom teachers so that if there is any downtime and they're looking for things to do, furthering those coding skills. We also started our Title I tutoring as well this week with math and ELA. We have so many different sessions going on. So we have 2 different ELA sessions happening at Harold Martin and a math session, and then we also have students who come over to Maple Street for Boys and Girls Club getting a tutoring session here with Miss Neff. So we're really trying to hit everyone that needs those services. So that's been really great. A huge shout out to the staff. They've been really flexible. We've been working with families on Monday, Wednesday is their session, but that doesn't work, so we got a Monday and a Tuesday. Ms. Follinsby is showing up at 7 a.m. on Tuesday mornings to get the kids before school. So we're really trying to be as flexible as we can to get those services, which is nice. And then we are wrapping up our Ladybug book voting. So that will be next week. If you're not familiar with the Ladybug Book Award, it is an annual children's book selected and awarded by elementary school students. The PTA is each year buys several copies of each of the books, so the classrooms can go through and each of them read the books. We have voting sheets, they have journals, we make a big event of it, we vote for a school winner, and we submit our results to the state, and then we get to hear how that goes. So that's always really fun. So far, some favorites are The Book That Almost Rhymed, The Bakery Dragon, and I'm Sorry You Got Mad. I'm Sorry You Got Mad might be a favorite of mine, because I feel like that's how most of the conversations start as we are working on something. So, but it's been really nice.
Amazing.
Questions?
Amazing. Cool. Any questions for Ms. Brown?
Keep us on toes.
Yeah. This is great. Thank you. I know we're going to hear from you in a second for data, but yeah,
I
go
had
ahead.
one quick.
Go ahead.
It was question/observation. It seems like a happy accident to have the tiger presentation in the fall.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you guys are going to switch to have it in the fall
I think
moving
so.
forward?
We probably won't do the day before the Veterans Day Assembly.
Yeah,
because
that
that's like a
seems
lot in 1
a
week,
lot.
but that's how that discount worked. But no, Ms. Kleiner and I talked about it, and we really kind of liked setting that groundwork.
Yeah.
We've also been really working on doing one school-wide assembly or more a month, and really like
great.
doing that piece. So in November we had the Veterans Day Assembly and Tiger, but then we also did we did Disguise a Turkey, and we had
Oh, yes.
turkeys all over the school that kids either completed at school or at home. And we had 182 turkeys this year, which is the most turkeys we've ever had. And they kept adding them, and I was trying to take pictures of them all for our video, and then they kept mysteriously adding more to the wall, and then I was afraid I missed someone, so we were like double checking. It's a great problem to have. Too many disguised turkeys, and lots of conversations about them. Those turkeys have been up, and now they're starting to come down so we can get ready for our holiday concert next week. So that's what we
Cool.
Thank
That's
you.
it. Sorry.
Thank you. All right. Now we've got Dr. Sindoni and Ms. Brown for student assessment data. Kim and Dana, if you you might want to hear about all of the student assessment data. I understand if you also want to leave, but thank you. You guys are great. Where do you guys stop for math team food now? Wendy's? Still stop at Wendy's for dinner
Or
after math team?
unfortunately, we don't stop anywhere. But
We went Dairy Queen one.
On the math team.
actually, yeah, that's true. And we just have like a sign-up sheet where students sign up to bring food.
Yeah.
We have some quite proficient bakers in there,
Yeah.
which is
There you go.
very much appreciated.
Yeah.
To sign up.
That's awesome. My siblings were really good at math, Suzanne, so they assumed that I was going to be good at math. I did not have the same
Was
mathematic
midterms also your favorite week?
Bringer.
You need to have someone.
All right,
Okay.
we need to talk. You
I
did.
also had headgear that I had to wear at school.
Oh no!
So
you
you
did
could
not
really
have enough
put it
fun in
together.
high school.
An image.
Okay.
Yes.
Aw.
Image.
And now the entire YouTube community. know that. Okay.
All right.
And we love you even more.
So Patrice did this in the spring, so I wanted to join the fun. So the dynamic duo is up here doing this now. So what we'd like to present to you is our district-wide data for the fall. And it's somewhat similar to what you saw in the spring, but it's a little bit more expanded where we're going to look at some of the district assessments we do, but also some of the larger summative assessments, such as New Hampshire State Assessment and SAT. Why did I expect mine to be that too?
So just as a reminder, really looking at that strategic plan, the goal being to deliver the highest quality education, providing all students with that foundation, and doing both the district assessments internally and then using those state measured assessments as well helps us really balance where our students are at, what instructional strategies we might need to move, and areas of success.
So just an overview of the purpose of assessment. I'm gonna. Okay.
You
All right. Just to give you an overview of the purpose of assessment, really best practice is using assessment to inform instruction, to make decisions on everything from teaching to funding curriculum. So what we try to do is give you an overview. Nobody move.
Matt?
That's gonna be wrong.
Do you have spare HDMI for it?
Does anyone get seizures?
Yeah, well, I'll just keep talking.
Okay.
Um,
That's great.
So the first is a universal screening. That is an assessment that is given to a large group of students to really determine the most appropriate starting point for instruction and to plan instruction. The best example I have is something called DIBBLES, and I put on the slides, I know we don't like acronyms here, I actually spelled everything out. So that's dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills. That is something that's administered at Harold Martin School for their starting point to determine literacy strengths and challenges with the students that we are receiving. A diagnostic assessment is an assessment that would identify a student's strengths or weaknesses in a specific skill area. It's really the next logical step if a student's identified by the screener for being at risk of being not on grade level. We do something called the LETTERS assessment, which assesses phonics and word reading. We also do progress monitoring. This is probably the one that parents are most familiar with. We use the AIMSweb assessment for progress monitoring. We administer that 3 times a year. It is a computerized assessment. It does serve as a screener, and that is really where we can monitor student growth throughout the year. We take that assessment data, and that is how we plan our intervention groupings. That was a piece of the Title I qualifications. So that's important information that we use along the way. And then another one parents are probably very familiar with is the summative assessment. That is something that is given at the end of a time period. This New Hampshire State Assessment is given in the spring. That is what we use to really identify large curricular trends and what we need to work on as a district. It is also how we're viewed in the public as well and at the state level. Another example of that is the SAT.
So for our district benchmark assessments, and especially in literacy, we use AIMSweb and EarlyBird. We've talked a little bit about this before. AIMSweb is primarily used for grades 3 through 8, or actually 3 through 9, where EarlyBird is for our younger children, K to 2. It's got our little bird Pip, and he jumps around and does little activities. They both assess different skills. EarlyBird really focusing on those phonemic awareness, phonics, oral language pieces. AIMSweb we also use to assess currently as our math skills.
So the first thing we'd like to share with you are the AIMSweb results. You do need to keep in mind this was administered very early in September, and this is our baseline. So this is right after summer. Traditionally, you have a summer slide with students where they're not in school. So this data tends to be a little bit lower, but it's really important because it helps us monitor, as I said, throughout the year. It'll be a very good comparison when we give the AIMSweb again in January to see the growth that has happened. The way we color-coded it was to be as user-friendly as possible. Obviously, green means on or above grade level, yellow means approaching, and red means below.
Do you want to ask questions as we go, or would you like to hold questions till the end?
That would be easy. Probably as we go.
Okay.
My only question was, I was looking back at the 25. I know that our current 5th grade, I think, is a highly identified class. They actually looked pretty good last year too, but they look like they're testing well, which is nice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I also noticed as the Harold Martin principal looking at the kindergarten numbers. So our kindergarten students came in really strong this year, which was nice to see, both for literacy and math, which is not something that you always get because they don't always have that instruction beforehand. So it's always our first time we see them. And then to kind of echo Dr. Sindoni, we started testing like the first week of school. So it's like you're getting to know the school environment, and now we're going to start assessing you to see what you know. And it's because we really want to get it done right away so that we can pick up anyone who might need some intervention services or extra support, and then we can get on to our actual Tier 1 instruction and see how that goes.
I think you guys will probably talk about this a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the first grade class? And if there's I don't know if there's a jump that happens between your K and 1.
Yes, so the expectations when you're looking at the fall test for math in grade 1 seems pretty high from where it leaves off in kindergarten year. So I would expect that as we check the January data, that you'll see those numbers for grade 1 really adjust after that instruction has happened. I think it's more of a scope and sequence piece.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the math?
No, it looks pretty.
All right, the next one's literacy. Give you a second just to look at that. And as a reminder, this is the one that we start in grade 3. This does not include K-2, which is why you don't see them. Any questions regarding that data?
It would be helpful to see how that corresponds to like state average or something like that.
Yeah.
Like next to these columns, just to
Yeah.
give it some perspective.
Yeah.
It's
well,
hard in and of itself to for me to make
The
sense.
best comparison for the state average is the New Hampshire State Assessment. Not all districts use Ames Web. There's other versions
Yeah.
of this assessment. There's STAR, there's NEWA.
Okay.
It's normed, it's nationally normed. So there is a comparison, like a
It's built
nationwide
in.
comparison.
Yes, built in.
Okay.
Typically, we score higher.
Okay.
So our green is students hitting that national.
Well,
Okay.
and just as a question, like the way that this is used is to it sounds like to me to catch students who may need additional supports and interventions, and to make sure that you're monitoring individual students over time, like over the course of the year. So it's not necessarily it's not a test that's necessarily looking to compare them
Right.
to a state average. It almost seems like I know we can pull up last year's data.
Right.
Like that is kind of ish helpful. Like you could look maybe at where the grade ended last spring and then where they started this fall. You would see their slide.
Right. I'm just thinking about for us to be looking at it. Like what
Well,
if it's
that's-
just a screener,
Right. Yep.
then
Yeah. Well, and this is
how much
sort
does
of
it tell us?
Well, we'll get to the statewide assessment one in
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
But this is really to help us. I think about it as like, how are we doing over the course of the year as a board, and like, are we delivering instructions, helping our kids understand the skills that they need?
And I think
Yeah.
that's true too,
Yeah.
right? So if you're seeing, like right now, we're seeing a lot of green, which, indicates that our instructional programs are where we want them to be, right? Like we're using curriculums and tools that are teaching the skills that kids need to be on grade level at that national level.
But I guess what I mean is, so if you go back to the math, we were just talking about first grade.
Yeah.
That's not suggesting that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
No, so it's one of the pieces of the puzzle. So I think fall data can be a little tricky that way because it's coming right off the summer.
Which I totally get.
If we continue to see that pattern, then I think you are looking at what are you doing for instruction and how are you teaching that group of kids. Because if that data continues, then that could indicate something bigger.
But this is also informing instruction.
Yes.
Correct? So
Yeah.
if I'm the teacher in the classroom and I see that, wow, my class seems to be a little bit low, and I can parse these out by student, I
Yeah.
would imagine,
Yes.
then I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit this
Yes.
a little bit harder with this group than I might with another group, or reteach.
And that's where the win groups also
Yes.
come in,
Yes.
right? What I need, and that's personal.
Yeah, I really like the early bird data. Not that I, like that we had a lot of kids on tier 3, but I like that that's going to give you, here's what I'm going to focus on as a classroom teacher, right? And those interventions, maybe tier 2.
And it has led to some really deep conversations with our teams. All our grade level teams meet in weekly PLCs. So the literacy team, the math team, the classroom grade level teachers, the special education teachers have all looked at this data, sat together, discussed it. What does that look like? Okay, so they're coming in and they're really good at letter sounds, but they don't have vocabulary. So how do we hit that vocabulary a little bit stronger? What do they need here? What about kind of some of those different pieces?
Now, if you're looking at the early bird data for grade 1, you're going to see the predictive profile is a majority red, which is, can be alarming when you're first looking at that. But if you look at that second column, your non-word reading, that is really indicative of beginning literacy skills. Non-word reading is fake words that they're sounding out and applying rules to. So they might not be there yet for reading, but they are doing really well in getting those non-word, those nonsense words. So it might just be like a T-O-K, right? And then they sound out that word. So they're able to do that. The other piece that's really interesting for us to just note, and I think as we get into the school year, I think it gets a little bit better, is Early Bird does a lot of their assessments in speaking into a microphone. And we do have some kids who don't like speaking into the microphone, especially like the first week of school. They're still like, shh, and then we have them like redo the assessment again. So that always plays into as we're getting used to and what that assessment style looks like. The vocabulary is strong for both, or stronger for both first and second grade, and that really is nice. I think that has to do with our amplified content knowledge piece and those vocabulary pieces that we're using in that section. So again, I think as we go on and we do our January benchmarks and our spring benchmarks, that these graphs will look very different.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, how long have we been using Early Bird at Ames Web as a district?
Early Bird we've been using now for this will be our third year, but they only added second grade last year.
Okay.
So it got normed last year. And my favorite example was when we were working with second grade last year, prescription was one of the words they had to read. And I was like, there's no way that's not a sounding word would sound out. But so they did have some really challenging words as they were figuring that out. And then I think it kind of balanced out. And then Ames Web has been used since before we've been here. So
Amy could probably answer that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using Ames Web at least since 2016 in different pockets. It was used primarily as a special ed progress monitoring tool. We used STAR when I was here, and CIA were thinking about, one of those more diagnostic tools.
And are we happy with Ames Web and Early
I
Bird?
would say it really, I don't want to speak for, but it really depends on what you're doing with the information. Ames Web is really down at the skill level, so it's helpful when you're trying to break out those groups, or if you have a very specific goal in a student's IEP that they're going to do a specific thing with a certain amount of accuracy. I would say that the feedback that I've been given, and as an educator, that Ames Web is very different than a STAR, an iReady, or a NEWA. That's more of a diagnostic where you're really looking at standards. So some teachers, I think, your tier 1, I think we would do well to be complemented with something else. But Ames Web is really good with that really detail. Can you do long division with 2-digit divisors? Can you identify these polygons? So I feel like we could have a complementary assessment. The issue that I find with the SAS is you're really, you're really judging, can kids navigate that tool? If you've ever taken SAS, you have to be able to scroll down, and sometimes a kid would be taking it and I don't understand what the question is. Because you have to scroll down and it's on another, or the way that it, the platform itself can get tricky. So I always feel like SAS is almost, we look at it and it's important, and when you think about it, especially it's how you get ranked on the iPlatform DOE website, so it's really important. But they really look at different things.
I want the consistency, so to Jonathan's point about yearly data, so that we can kind of compare some data, look at some trends, and then decide again, programming, are we adding things? Do we need to add particular resources?
Yeah, Early Bird is a really great early literacy skill, and we're required by law to screen for dyslexia and then do a follow-up screener. So I think those two pieces together go really well, because you have your Early Bird with the Ames Web.
team does a really nice job looking, and when I say team, I'm the intervention teachers, the classroom teachers, the special educators. They are all very fluent in looking at all those different pieces, knowing which tool to use. When we look at the diagnostics, we use letters. We also use Heggerty to look at different skills. So they have a wide they have a pretty big toolbox, right? And so they know where to go. I was recently talking with a parent who was just so thankful for kind of the extra work we were doing for their student. And they said they had a friend who's been teaching for 25 years in first grade in Maine. And they said, they told me they'd never had a student who was dyslexic. And I kind of paused for a second and she was like, yeah, I did the same thing. They're just not screening for it. You guys do so much here that like I feel so confident that my child is going to go fully where they need to go. And it was just such a nice moment to really connect and realize that we really do a lot. You know, there's the law that we need to follow, but also all of our teachers are really looking at all those different pieces. And a majority of Harold Martin teachers, and I know a significant number at Maple Street, also did the letters training. Yeah. So really making sure that they are up on best practices and how do they really target the needs of the students.
And it's important to note, previous models, we had data days where after the assessment data came out, we would, secure coverage for teachers and they would sit down and they would look at the data. And it was more of an event. It's interwoven now into weekly PLCs. We no longer have those data days. We talk about data every single week. And sometimes it's Ames Web, sometimes it's the New Hampshire State Assessment, but sometimes it's a math unit assessment. And that is where they're creating those flexible groupings for interventions, and they're very fluid.
The other things I would say is on the first grade one for the microphone, one of the things that came up for me as a parent was that if a kid has because you're speaking into a microphone, a little bit of a speech impediment, it will get coded wrong. So, like, it's not like the system is like, you're losing teeth, we're going to pick that up. Also, the board searches in their drive, not that I know from experience, but if you're searching in Drive, you can just type data and you can look at our spring 2025 data presentation. And Suzanne, I don't know if you're on the board yet, but you can see for early bird, you're starting to see what that looks like. So I really do think this is good benchmarking for figuring out, are we providing effective instruction? And that is represented in the
materials
team and the
that go with the
materials and like
yeah.
how are we looking at data? It's all those things. So, Great.
All right.
This is our benchmark.
So moving on. Oh, sorry.
No, keep
No,
going.
we're good?
This is great.
Okay.
Yep.
So moving on to the New Hampshire State Assessment and the SATs. As I said previously, these are the ones that are publicized. This is what you hear in the news. These are how districts are compared. And you really see those comparisons. Those are those larger assessments where you look at your curriculum at a high level to see if it's functional and if it's working and educating students. So the first that we have for you is the New Hampshire State Assessment for math. We report it out a little bit differently. Scores are reported out on 4 different levels: below, approaching, proficient, and above proficient. So I'll just give you a second to look at that.
And for clarification, these are the current grade levels. Last year, they would have been last year's 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders.
Right. Yeah, you have to, it's easier to think of it as graduation year and think of it as a cohort as they move up.
You'll see with that first cohort of the class of 2034, that's this year's 4th graders, last year's 3rd graders. That's the first time they've ever taken the test. And I think that's important to note. We do some work with them on navigating the system. We do some practices, but this is their first go around in standardized testing. And the other piece that is important to note that the state requires 95% participation. If you have more than 5% opt out or not take the test, those get factored into your score as a 0.
Do we know what our participation rate is?
In 3rd grade last year, it was under 95%.
Okay.
I was just at 95. It's important to note as well with the new parental bill of rights, it's within a parent's right to opt their child out of a state assessment.
And so if a parent opts their child out, we fall below 95%.
It
That is,
negatively impacts.
that's
Correct.
considered a
Yes.
0.
Yeah. Well, in 2 areas, you get a 0 for participation and their score.
So our overall score could look artificially low if people are opting their children out of this
And in
test.
different districts, if a student fits into different categories such as ESOL, special ed, you get scored negatively in different subgroups as well.
Interesting.
And when you become a targeted school, or, there are different distinguished, they're not identifying any schools this year. They do that in even years. So we would find out next year if we're they call it a TSI school or an ATSI school, or they have a lot of that. So,
So
and that just essentially means that you have a population, it's usually a subgroup, as they were saying. Special ed, that happens pretty often, that your special ed group in that grade level scores substantially different than than the rest of the population.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of kids in a grade with IEPs, that negatively affects the.
No, just their score.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
They go
understand what you're saying.
into how they break down the data. Those students they create their own cohort, and they say, are these students doing particular, like how are they performing in comparison to their typical peers? So if they have scores that are substantially lower, that would pop on on whether or not we would become a targeted school for intervention or not. But they also break down other groups that we don't have, like ELL. They would pull
What
out
is
any
ELL?
student, English language
Learner.
learners. So any student that takes the WIDA, which is their test, they would compare their performance on the SAS. We don't have any students that are considered migrant children, or we do have a McKinney-Vento population, but it's not 10%, so it doesn't equal a subgroup.
And McKinney-Vento is
Homeless students that are experiencing.
When we have to publish
breaking down.
our scores next to our budget on the ballot, do we get to put any sort of like
No.
percentage attendance or?
You're not allowed to do that.
All right,
Yeah, no
just
What's
just
that?
asking.
The rule is very, like, they've taken out any really identifying information like that in the RSA.
We can put another page
Yes.
that
Yeah.
has context on it, but I do think it is important to highlight the fact that people can be looking at it and saying like, oh, you're scoring whatever,
Right.
and who knows what the reality is. The reality could be 50 families opted to not have their children do standardized testing, which is totally their rights, but it does have a
And I think, the administrators probably have those conversations with parents about, sometimes parents are worried that it'll be too taxing on their student, or if they have significant special needs there and they don't qualify for the dynamic learning map, which is the DLM, and that is, more for students that have significant cognitive impairments. We get it, but there are a lot of accommodations that you can provide for those students. They could take a test in a separate setting. They could have someone, provide different accommodations for them. They can break it down into, shorter tests or have more time. So, I'm sure you guys do all of that, like giving all of that to parents, but the opting out is really tricky. Especially for small districts. Because if you have 3 families opt out, you're under your 95th percentile. It can be significant.
Thank you.
And here are our ELA results in social language arts.
Cheers. That's great. I'm good.
Oh. And then here are our science scores.
If you look at science scores statewide, they tend to be low. We actually scored higher compared to the state average.
We could.
As Amy said, these tests are very difficult to navigate and they're tricky. The science test, in my opinion, in particular, there are, like she said, there's a lot of dragging. There's a lot of tabs. There's a lot of moving of visuals and reading captions. You really have to know how to navigate the platform before you can even get down to the business of reading it and answering questions.
Any questions about stats? All right, here's your note.
Here it is. So, as we alluded to earlier, school districts are ranked according to New Hampshire state assessment data, and they're ranked down to the grade level. And our 6th grade ranked number 2 in the state.
Oh.
I wanted to do a cartwheel down the hall. I was so excited. And I went down to Melanie Pepper and I said, "We're number 2." She's like, "Why aren't we number 1?"
Yeah, of course.
Not bad.
I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, that is just a testament to all of those previous teachers and the work Melanie does. And I'm very excited to see further trends with our Amplified curriculum. Also, 6th grade was ranked number 5 in the state. And the picture that I put on this slide is a Bob Woolner original, and it's Mr. Wells teaching angles. And that's part of building thinking classrooms. They are up there, standing there, using their arms to form the angles to classify them.
And then here are spring SAT scores for math and ELA. These are taken by 3rd-year high school students, right?
It's just so weird.
I know.
Yeah.
Not 11th graders. 3rd grade high school students.
And this is the statewide day, so this wouldn't include kids that take it separately, as Kim was talking about.
okay.
This does not include kids that take it
On
not
their
on the statewide assessment day.
Any questions there?
And ELA is English Language Arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to bring back your jar.
Sorry.
Rob.
I know. Well, it's funny because I wanted to write reading and writing and literature, and I was like, now I'm spelling out a lot of things right now.
Great. So just to wrap everything up in a bow, the big picture is data is shared with families. State assessment data they can actually access that through a state portal, but we send home the Ames Web family results via Parent Square. They do a nice job of creating a parent report for parents to understand it. It helps monitor, and it really fuels good conversations. We do our grade level data reviews, as we talked about. Those are frequent. Staff is very well versed in the data, understand it, and really use it in decision making. And this upcoming winter, we will begin our assessments in January, and that will also help establish trends and show rate of improvement, and it will be a comparison to the fall data.
Any questions?
I have a general question about student buy-in, and I don't really know about like at the lower levels, but I know, at the high school, there are always issues with kids. Like, I am shocked that we are using the SAT as the measure of achievement for how kids are doing in schools. I mean, to me, it is absurd. There are kids at certain performance levels. You may as well go ask them to climb, Mount Kilimanjaro barefoot or something. I mean, it's just insane. But did I put that too mildly? So I'm just curious, like at the lower levels, how do you create student buy-in so your kids are putting their best foot forward? Like what happens in those
There's
days?
a fine line, Rob, and this is my bias as a parent of a child that struggled with standardized assessments. I remember she said to me, "Do you know what it's like looking at a screen and you have no idea what to do and no one can help you?" You want them to take it seriously. You want them to put their best effort in, but you also don't want to create undue stress as well. I really feel like the students here do try to the best of their abilities. We're very cognizant of giving breaks and really planning the schedule for that day to allow this sort of assessment to happen. Make sure there's movement breaks, snacks, things like that built in. I do want to mention state assessment. They used to be allowed to pause the test, take a break. Now they're saying very short breaks. You can go to the bathroom, you can get a drink of water, but we want you to take it all in one session now.
All in one day.
All in one day.
Yeah.
So it's hard because I've never lived in your world of high school, but I do feel like at my level, and Patrice can chime in, we really don't see students not putting forth effort or not caring.
I think at the early elementary school, you get a little bit. I mean, I've got some kids who are like 6 or 7, and they're just going to click some buttons and they get through. And then I think they quickly realize that we look at how long it took them to take it, and then we make them do it again. And that annoys them more. Because I'm like, oh, during fresh air break, why don't we do this again together? And they're like, All right, so they only do that like once or twice of the clicking through before they're like, all right, we're gonna have to actually do this. Again, the teachers create a really good culture too of explaining the purpose. Like, we're not judging you, we're just trying to learn what like you know, so we know how to go forward. And I think the way they communicate it is really important and really does drive it home. And my teachers do a really nice job at that.
Thank you.
I think it's great as a parent. I know when I started with Sammy at Harold, we didn't use, I think parents didn't used to get assessments from the earlier grades a long time ago. That data wasn't released, and
Different
Yeah.
assessments.
yeah, but it's wonderful to have it sent home as a parent. I like seeing it as a board member. There's not a lot that I think we necessarily see that is curriculum or instruction or like the actual academics of what we're doing and like the bread and butter of what a school district is supposed to do. And I know it takes a lot to sort of sift through the data, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
It's not every district sends home the data, so I really am proud to work here where we do. We are very transparent. This is your students' data. Here is the information. I do think that is very valuable to families. I think sometimes it stresses everyone out right away, and then we always kind of brace for that because you're looking at trends, and 50% seems bad, but it's not bad having those conversations. But I do think that it's valuable, and that the teams work well together with the families to really inform where their students are.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting, Rob, that you brought up the point of assessing the high schoolers. And I'm glad that in the beginning you put in like the progress monitoring assessment and the summative assessments, because for a lot of these, you've got AIMSWeb that goes to 9th grade, and then you've got your SATs, you've got your SAS that does 9th and 12th. You've got your SATs. There's really, for all the monitoring that there is on the lower levels, it does appear that we have a gap. Aside from like the progress monitoring and the summatives and in the high school. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. There is the buy-in aspect, but it is just of
All I can
note.
say is the year that we connected your performance to getting junior privileges early, scores went through the roof. All I have to say.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Everybody found it very
Kim
good.
is still in the room.
Huh.
Yes, right now.
Yep.
Remember that day? Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Anything else?
I look forward to seeing you again in the spring.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, administrator, principals, and Dan. Thanks, guys. Good luck out there. Okay. Everyone doing all right? Are we ready to talk about our budget and draft revenue?
Always
Good.
ready.
It's great. Do people want their, thanks guys, really appreciate it. Do people want the revenue presentation first or talk through budget first? I don't know that it's.
I like revenue.
Well, my counterpart here, the revenue is draft. I think that, certainly could talk about that. I think we're ready to do either, whatever you would prefer.
Okay.
Did we lose it?
Yeah, she's just, I think she's
Oh,
using the bathroom.
sorry.
We could do revenue first, and then I think the goal is, Rob, did the budget committee meeting next week get canceled?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then are you having another one prior to?
Yes.
You are, okay,
17.
okay.
17th is the next budget meeting.
Yeah,
Next week
so we
is
have this
canceled,
meeting.
and then we're up on to the following.
Yeah. So just to set the stage, I know I missed the last meeting. I think that we got to a pretty good shot. What I'm trying to get through tonight with everyone is, are we able to zone in on our recommendation to the budget committee? That can then go, I think, get another sort of straw poll, Rob, prior to the official presentation in January, if that works for you.
So it's not just what works for me, but it's what works for Laura and Amy in
Yep.
building that
Yes.
presentation.
Yep.
So I think that we really need to decide where we're at and where we're comfortable, so that can
Yep.
start happening, and then we can make adjustments certainly. But I think in broad strokes, we should tonight say yay or nay, we're comfortable with where we're at, so that can start happening. And that way, the finance committee can look at the presentation, we can do our edits, and we're not all scrambling come January going, oh my God, it's already the 7th. And
That sounds great.
That's what
Yeah,
we do.
it has been tough in the past, so that would be
It
awesome.
has been.
Laura, I think it might be helpful if you're okay with jumping right into revenue, and then we'll go to budget from there. Is that okay?
Absolutely. So revenues, unfortunately, as we probably know, the tax rate has not been set yet. So revenues are based on an estimated valuation of the town. I tried to keep it very conservative and just kept the valuation. I increased it by about $100,000. It doesn't have a significant impact. As we look at the revenues that we're estimating, I just want to start by saying that 25-26, we talked about this last time a little bit, the MS-24R, which is what we use to set our revenues with the Department of Revenue, has come in, and my estimate is that we are actually going to have a 22-cent reduction from where we thought we were annual meeting. So we're starting a little lower with the increase. So just talk about revenues a little bit. I did bump up in terms of local sources, which are first. I did bump up our revenue for tuition by about $5,000. We consistently are doing well with enrollment in preschool, and so I feel comfortable bumping that up a little bit, just a small $5,000. Interest revenue as well, even though we're trending down, we're still finding a healthy revenue for interest earnings. Food service sales is self-sustaining, so as we, or should be. However, we see that there is a planned or projected reduction just because we see sales are decreasing at the moment. And then lastly, you have, I'm keeping steady our other local revenue at about $100,000, and then Fund 23 grants and donations, that's our local stuff, and that's staying steady at $50,000 based on our expenditures.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Can you describe to me the difference between 24-25 actual and 25-26 MS-24R? Because those numbers are pretty big between the first column and the third column.
Yes. So 24-25 actuals is what we ended up with for revenue on June 30th, 2025.
Uh-huh.
And then 25-26 MS-24R is where I'm projecting that we will end up for this year.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's $120,000 difference for tuition.
Yes. We had some students that were enrolled for private tuition, so parents can enroll their students from out of district. I just can't plan on that every year. I can't plan that those students are going to continue to tuition into Hopkinton. And so I risk being upside down if we really budget for that.
Thank you. Awesome. And same thing for, for all, so all of these is like the conservative scenario.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Thank
Yep.
you. Yep.
And as you can see, we ended up kind of that our food service projection 440. That was the same for last year as well, and we ended up upside down.
Right.
On that side.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, and on that line, I know I keep asking this, but did we decide? Do those rates go up again for food services?
We have not decided that yet.
We have not decided that. I just couldn't remember where we landed, if we were stepping that or what.
We took the big jump of 25 cents per meal instead of the 10 and 15.
I don't know why my brain does not hold on to that, but
It doesn't want to remember.
There's a lot of stuff to hold on to. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Okay.
One piece with state aid that I do just want to point out, we are still working on projecting what our special education aid will be for next year based on out of districts and placements. But one significant piece is I want you to take a look at our adequacy grant. That is our main state aid, and it is going down based on our enrollment. So that number is decreasing. We have heard a few different towns in the news that have had a reduction in their adequacy based on their projection to their actuals. And so our projection came in at about 29.25, so 2.925 million. And I just am projecting it a little bit lower, which it really only means about 5 kids.
Right.
Okay. That's really the difference.
Okay.
There is nothing right now that legislation about adequate education. There's nothing right now saying it's going to be for next year. Okay. So we can't plan on that.
Okay.
The swept is going up, so the statewide property tax that is also raised locally, that is actually increasing by $37,000.
And what is that used for? You just for general purposes?
It is state education aid that is raised at the local level, so it is part of our property taxes.
And that may or may not come back to us.
Oh, we'll come back to
It
that.
will
comes
come
back
to us,
to
right?
us,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
It's raised here and used here.
We are not in,
Just
sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's how they manage the adequacy. They take away our swept,
Right.
which we already have. So it's our money.
Yeah.
That we raise.
Yeah.
And we don't send, and then we keep it.
Right.
It's very, yeah.
Thank you.
And, oh, you're welcome. And then lastly, really federal programs are staying status quo. Those are self-sustaining. We budget a certain amount, but we really spend what we get in. So everything is allocation based.
Yeah.
I did, if we take a look at the one last piece where we are with financing sources, we
Sorry,
have
just
a new line there.
Sorry, just before you jump off
Yeah.
of federal sources.
Sure.
So Medicaid reimbursement is flat here. We don't have any concerns about, for kids, it's not going to affect the same as it will for adults in terms of eligibility for Medicaid and planning Medicaid. Like, we're not, like, I'm assuming because it's flat that we're not thinking that that's going to affect
No, but they are
us.
going to change how we bill for Medicaid. And so we have the gift of Jeanette Sanchez, who manages all of our Medicaid. And so we have had a person come in from Booth. There's a gentleman from Booth B who goes all over. Dan Collier is his name, and he goes all over and explains. They are looking at how they're changing. They're making New Hampshire look at their Medicaid billing the way they do it nationwide. We have been non-compliant for many, many years.
The whole state has
The
been.
whole state,
Not Hopkinton,
not
the
just
state.
us.
Yeah.
And so they actually have pulled in this other, it's a randomized time study of how those people are spending their time. It's a really interesting way that they collect data. And so that will be happening next year. But Jeanette has a really good handle on it, and we don't expect
Okay.
that there will be significant changes based on what we can control.
Okay, thank you.
Just and similarly with the dissolving of the Department of Education at the federal level, are things like IDEA.
Yeah, I mean,
Gonna be
that was,
continuing?
having it live under DHHS is, I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
Okay.
I think they're putting a lot
Which
of
is
the
the
title
Individuals
grants
with
under the Department of
Disabilities
Labor.
Education Act.
Like Title I going under the Department of Labor.
Around labor?
is-
Okay.
is strange.
Right, yes.
So I think that there's still a lot of questions there. What the Commissioner of Education has said is that we'll continue to sort of function status quo. They're more like block grants. They give the money to New Hampshire, our DOE, and then they are pushed out accordingly. But I think anything could happen.
Right. And that's $300,000 just in the disabilities program. That is a chunk of change.
Yes, but and as Laura pointed out, we only spend what we get. So if
Right.
those numbers go down, we would have to figure out other ways of funding what lives in the grant right now. We do have some, especially designed instruction pieces. We have materials. We have some personnel. We would just have to absorb those at the local level,
Or reduce them.
or not. Or
right,
not
or
do
reduce
that.
them.
Yeah. 'Cause I think a lot of that, what's in the special ed grant though, is per their IEPs. So
Right.
yes, we'll get
Right.
other,
So it's legally required,
that's right.
but may not be paid for.
Right.
Great.
or supported through grants, we would still have to pay it.
Sure.
Right?
Right. We would have to pay it.
Right. Right.
Well,
Okay. All right.
The other financing uses, I just want to quickly point out, I do have a projected $75,000 from the expendable trust fund. That is a very early on projection, thinking that, guessing how the warrants might play out. So that is subject to change. Fund balance to reduce taxes at $100,000 is in line with last year. We spoke about the $125,000 transfer to food service, and then lastly, I have $300,000 coming from the contingency to offset taxes.
And last year we did 4.
Last year we did 4. I did 300 this year. If the security redesign goes through, we'll be using some of the, the contingency for that. And so I reduced it down.
But there's still enough money in there to match last year's and still have enough money to match the following year. Even if we do 270.
Yes, if we did 270, you could still match 400, and you would leave about 500,000 in there. Yes.
Can you go over the 75,000 number?
Sure. Again, it's very early on. It is a projection of $10,000 to the vehicle trust in line with last year, $15,000 to the tech trust in line with last year, and then potentially $50,000 to the maintenance trust.
Thank you.
And it's only an initial projection. So with the total appropriations with these cuts that we have in terms of operating, we have 29,301,449 very early on, with a tax rate of 16.12, which is an increase, as you see, of about 75 cents.
Any questions about any of this? It's really helpful, Laura. Thank you for helping walk us through it and running through all of your thoughts around it. It's very beneficial.
If you have any other questions on it as we move through, please let me know.
Okay. All right.
Laura, is the 1537 inclusive of the potentially 22 cents lower, or?
Yes.
And that includes the return for Conval and. Right.
Yes, and the additional special education aid, which we are getting. So we have that 1559, which you can see in column 2, that 25-26 projection. That's where we were, and I am projecting that we'll end up at 1537.
Yeah. Which is great, but also is a larger delta, which we can all see. So yes.
I've asked our special ed team to give me an idea of what they believe might be our special education aid for next year. So that 300,000 is very conservative right now. We're hoping and expecting that it's going to end up being a bit higher.
When did those numbers firm up, just in terms of the timeline and the process as you guys were working through? And
for the special education aid numbers, those are tricky. They really don't firm up until after we have to make our final decisions. Okay. I will tell you from an internal side, what we're struggling with is that I set our tax rate with, the DRA, the Department of Revenue, and then we got an email from the state about our special education aid and looking at the final expenses. So they're actually not even finalizing until after towns have to have their rate set. So really, we work it through all year long. We put items into the system all year long, and hopefully we will have finalization in about July of what it's due, I think, on the July 20th, Rob.
do we have what's our benchmark on 400,000 in terms of tax rate? Are we still using that 7-cent mark?
Until it comes out, yes. Once the rate comes out, I'll have a new benchmark for us about what $100,000 means.
But for this calculation, we could use that.
Yep.
Any questions about that? So the other so this is all draft.
Mm-hmm.
The other financing sources could very well change.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the projections are conservative because they have to be.
Yes.
Because we can't.
If we are under in
Budget
any of the
to-
revenue,
Right.
then we have to make sure that we are under in the expenditures.
Right.
So we have to be cognizant of the fact that the revenue has to be there to be able to spend that money. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be different, but from a planning perspective, we want to make sure we have enough cash on hand to ensure that we can pay all of our encumbrances.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, my
money-
only comment is on the Article 10 money, that to me, I would just make that 400,000 now. That would be my recommendation.
Sure.
Can I ask a question, Laura, about
So we were talking about the
other
last
local
line.
sources, like the rent and driver's ed, things,
Right.
those are, can I just ask for clarification about, like, people renting our buildings, or like
Yes.
driver's ed pays a fee to host?
So,
When do we enter into
Yeah.
contracts with them for next year?
Because she's taking
Is
this
that not till,
We
Like
will enter
June?
later. That
Yeah.
rent that you see there is
Not
more
for
rentals for
Use this year.
companies that might come out and
That's
use our
what
buildings for
following.
something. So it's not
Okay.
necessarily for the
Okay.
after-school care programs that you're seeing. It's more of those one-offs where
covered
where we
this
have reach outs
going
and they
forward,
ask if
but
they
it-
can
we
use
still
our
have that
facilities.
plus
oh,
by
I saw driver's ed, so I was
Yep.
wondering if that's like
Driver's
an
ed,
ongoing-
that's I believe that's an old Michelle note.
Oh, okay.
We haven't received driver's ed revenue in a while, but that
Right.
45,000 is, if we get, it's things like rebates if we receive them after the fact, right? If
For-
we get
right.
refunds of prior year
Contract stuff.
expenditures, things like that, any insurance proceeds, those types of things.
Good old rebates.
E-rate,
So is
that
that,
E-rate
Thank you.
program.
does that bring 1719 down by 7 cents? Can you do that? Making that
yes.
400?
Yes, or to 1612.
Well,
I
the
don't-
last
I
column.
don't-
the yeah.
We good? All right,
Do you-
yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to see what it looks like next time with the 400,000 from our Article 10?
Sorry, didn't mean to say that. I've got the math here. That's up to folks. I think,
Do we want to talk, do we want to, if you want to share that, I think that's great, and then we can talk through also, and then we should go through and look at the proposed changes to the budget.
I think what we could do is we have a finance meeting prior to our next board meeting. We could talk about it then make that change if we recommend that. Maybe we have more information then, move forward.
Great.
Might we have the valuation at that point, or no?
We can hope.
Okay.
And then remember, our 5% contingency also will increase based on our tax rate setting as well, because we finalize the net assessment from the town.
I think we're in a good place in terms of revenue,
Yeah.
given the conservative approach you've taken and things that are still on the table that we could.
Yeah. Okay.
If my math is right, just with what you presented, it'd be a 4.88% increase in the tax rate, which is something the budget committee will ask. Pretty much coincides with what I think we're going to see on the expenditure side.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Super helpful.
This is helpful.
All right, are we ready to talk through proposed changes to the budget?
So in our last meeting, the board asked Laura and I to take another look. You know that the budget that we brought forth originally was already pretty lean. And so as you looked to make some additional reductions, they're broken up into really operations and then some personnel and personnel budgeting. And then you'll also see some additions that needed to go into the budget, and that was after our initial presentation. One is an open enrollment tuition line, and then the other is for the increase in our actual audit, and in your packet is also a consideration for us to enter into a multi-year contract with our auditors, which is something that Laura recommends. So those costs are a little bit higher and based on the quote that Plodzik has provided. And so we're happy to talk through any of those reductions, especially in the operations. But just to point out, some of these are we're really looking at all aspects. So we're making a reduction of $80. I hope just lets you know where we're at in terms of trying to avoid the reduction of additional personnel.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about the open enrollment tuition line, just because I think it's helpful to
Yes, so we have,
shine some light on that?
yep, we have a student that has elected, their parents, their guardian had elected to send them to an open enrollment school, so we are required to have a line in our budget to pay for that tuition. And that's a result of a recent court case that, you know, we really don't have any oversight or a best interest determination. Those are other avenues that a school district can take, but this was an open enrollment school that we now have to pay the tuition, so we have to highlight that in our budget.
And this was the Supreme Court decision that came down a few weeks ago
November,
that
yes.
said that you don't have to, that the sending school does not have to opt in.
No.
Everybody can be forced to pay this if a student is in this situation
That's
in
right.
their district.
And it's 80% of the sending district's average cost per pupil.
So it's
Based on what's on the DOE website.
Correct.
So we did get some, you know, of course, legal counsel explaining that. To go to a webinar today. You missed a good time, Andrea. I'll forward it along, where they were talking about, you know, districts. What are we going to do? It is something that the board can consider. Certainly, it would have to be done through a warrant article, and there are some other policies that go in effect that you would have to identify what is the maximum enrollment, how many seats would you offer, and then also how many. You can also set the number that you would allow to leave. So it gets kind of complicated. So, you know, in terms of Prospect Mountain, I think they've said that no kids can leave or the fewest number, but they can
Right.
take up to, I think it's 90%.
Is there a deadline for deciding to become an open enrollment?
It would be just based on your warrant article, so it has the
Oh.
same, yeah, it would have to be done through warrant article.
So is this number in the budget too conservative if some of the other area schools decide to go open enrollment?
It's a
Do
good
we-
point. Laura and I have talked about it. It is.
I mean, we,
Yep.
you know, we have a great reputation and all of those things, but we are a small shop. And so if you look at a area school that might potentially, that may have more to offer in terms of like CTE or things like that.
It is important to note that open enrollment right now is still, the district of liability does not have to provide transportation. So it would have to be parents that could transport their student, you know, to another district. And that is a barrier for most families that have two working parents, or, you know, that would be a limitation. But you're right, it is
I just
low.
worry that that's one student.
And that's something that we could talk about.
Two
It
more
is one
would-
student. We could budget up to 5. You know, we don't know. Right now, I am not aware of any local districts. So if you look at Kearsarge, Merrimack Valley, Concord, those are the schools, I think, Bow, that would look to become open enrollment.
It is highly unpredictable and
Yes.
is massively impactful to our financial situation as a budget, given the fact that we're going to go through and look at budget cuts. An $80 amount to try to get to a tax rate that we think is reasonable, and having a wholesale 18.5K addition to the budget in one go is a tough.
And you don't want to do prophetic reasoning with your budgeting.
Correct.
Like, you don't want to start cutting services that then create the outcome that you're worried about.
Yeah.
Like, you want to maintain
That we
those.
are a very attractive school system, and we may very well benefit.
Yep.
I would bet that we would benefit more than we would. I think we would lose for kids who want to go play sports at a bigger program or where they don't have things, but academically speaking, there are plenty of surrounding places where families might say, I can send my kid and I don't have to cover the whole nut. This is a good deal for us.
It's also tough for those school districts too.
It's a terrible situation. I'm
Yes.
just saying that
Yes,
we're in that
I just want to
situation.
clarify that any school that has to be able to do this in a highly unpredictable fashion, it is a
Yes.
really, really hard thing.
And we don't
Right.
have to accept, right?
We don't have to, well, right now, and that is also something that, you know, Reaching Higher New Hampshire, the New Hampshire School Boards Association are talking about. You can set the kind of
Like, we could set it at zero.
entrance criteria. That's right. And which is
Not a
really
decision
important.
I'm thinking we would tackle tonight, I'm just saying.
All right, do you want to run through the other changes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
in terms of.
Can you just walk us through it?
Sure. As you start, I mean, Laura has done an exceptional job of really looking to make sure that, you know, things are captured accurately. That field liner, I don't want folks to be concerned, that is actually captured in salary and benefits. So it's not in the athletics department, you know, budget anymore, but we are still having the fields lined. We made some adjustment based on FTEs in HEA. When you decrease the number of FTEs, then you can adjust the amount of PD that you have to budget for those, for that personnel. In the area of facilities, I think Jim and Laura did a great job securing a better electricity rate. I'm sure she's happy to answer any questions about that. That was a significant savings for us.
Can we just talk through that for a minute? Because that's a huge win. Like, that is unprecedented in these times.
From 27 cents, or, 27
So
cents.
30, it's 10.31 cents, and it's locked in for 48 months.
Amazing.
So we do get a hydro rebate on it as well. So half a penny for every kilowatt hour we use also comes back to us.
It's like
So there's
30
additional half a
30,000
kilowatt that
savings.
goes into that other local revenue.
Well done.
Wow.
It's amazing. No one has electricity rates going down. Great job, negotiators. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lawn treatments, much to Jim's chagrin, those
Yes.
have been cut again. He did say that he's not going to stop asking, so I'm sure
Great.
those will, he really would like to grow some grass, which I would appreciate. The Operation Hero, I don't know enough about that add-on, but it would enable Jim and his team and others to track energy. I think one of the questions that the board asks is what's the return on investment on that right now, and it's just unclear whether we would cover the cost of that purchase. The water bubbler and the washer and dryer, we will try to do out of fund balance this year. You know, that is a project. We certainly don't want water bubblers to, you know, kids need access to fresh filtered water, so we want to make sure that we do that.
For those of us not from Pennsylvania, they're also called water fountains. Yeah.
Yes, I had to learn bubbler when I came here. Did I say water fountain?
Does anyone else
Oh,
say
you
bubblers?
said bubbler.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. Well, because they're not fountains anymore. So it's
Are
those
they actually called
fancy
bubblers?
fillers stations now.
Oh, like the
Water
water chick.
Water
Yeah.
bottle.
Okay, then I'm out of date.
You're doing great. It's fine.
Yeah.
I really had to learn that word.
Okay. I thought it was a Midwestern
What do you
thing.
call it?
Water fountain.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Bubblers are Midwestern, so yeah. Okay, sorry, keep going. Yeah.
A couple of other things, when you went through the Teamster contract, they did not want that PD, so it's been cut from the budget. However, I just want to ensure that if we had staff that wanted to improve and go to a conference, we would certainly, you know, find a way to be able to enable them to expand their learning. We've made some reductions in supply lines, primarily at the middle high school, and those are based on actuals. Important to note that if there were new asks, if teachers wanted to do something that was innovative or they wanted something new, this is really focusing on the supply line, and it's based on actual costs. So one of the things that Laura asked folks to do was to bring in about a 5% increase just based on the cost of doing business. So some of those increases really didn't bear based on their actual. So she went through and we trimmed those lines. Looking at things that we have some administrators that are not planning to take courses, so we were able to trim those costs from the budget. And then looking at some gasoline costs related to the math team, and also the vocational gas, that transportation. Again, those are just costs that we haven't actually realized, so we feel comfortable making those reductions. And then finally, making a reduction to the retirement party. It is important, and I'm sure Laura can explain that if there are additional questions. We do have to have a budget line to be able to accept the revenue. Teachers do pay to go to those, to the party, but we understand that there is a reduction that could be made there. And then we will look to use other means, either through P-card money or a sunshine fund to pay for things that would celebrate or to provide comfort or support to people when they have things like marriages or deaths or whatever that might be. And then also, I believe the board has decided to cut the second part of the diligent community that covers our policy book and also the committee work. We are going to continue to maintain the diligent side that does the agenda, And the postings, that has been, I think, a good tool for you to interface with the community and met some needs that we had around transparency and posting. So we will need to talk through a new way to post the policy, which Andrea and Suzanne and I will work on the policy committee. And then just overall committees trying to figure out, how the best place to house them. It will likely be, and I know Matt isn't over there, but it would likely return to more of a Google Drive that is made public that would have the agendas and the minutes posting.
Great.
And then you'll see those two additions, and then on the second page are some reductions to personnel budgeting.
To consider.
That are to consider, that's right. And so we're looking at cutting some overtime and then to the substitute line. We also, just to say those are not zeroed out, those would be leaving, plenty of money in the substitute line. And again, when you think about the availability of subs, really what we're navigating a lot, especially at the middle high school, are teachers covering for other teachers and getting that payment through the CBA. So we still certainly have subs and would love subs. So if that's anyone's hope and dream, please continue to apply for subs, and we will have you come every day.
That's good.
Well, what does that look like, the 20,000 from the substitute line? Like, what
just
does
mean
that actually look like?
It would just mean that there's about 186,000 left in that line. We had budgeted more to provide and feel comfortable that based on our actuals and what we're actually saying, that we can safely cut that cost.
Because most of the substitution, at least it is covered in-house, like teachers covering teachers, and then that money is already
Covering for the
budgeted.
teacher, that's pretty common at Harold and Maple, where the instructional assistant that's familiar with the routines in the classroom would take over, and then they get paid an additional amount
Yeah, excellent.
for their
Yeah.
willingness to do that. They're all hard decisions, so, I mean, these are just for you all to consider.
Can we, thank you. Can we start with the first chunk of all of the operations budget reductions? Do we have any questions, comments on those pieces? It's a very fine comb, so thank you guys for going through and taking such a hard look at it. This is literally looking across all of the departments, and I really appreciate it. Really excited about the electricity. That is a lot of negotiations work for you and Jim, and also really appreciate looking at all the actuals and trying to figure out where else can we sort of trim things out, knowing that there is not a lot to trim. So any thoughts about that?
I mean, my overall initial reaction to this is it's a lot of hard and good work. It really puts a fine point on this sort of tricky thing that I personally have been struggling with, both on school board and on budget committee, which is sort of it doesn't feel, it has never felt to me like we should be weighing it on like line items, but there needs to be some basis for whatever number we're coming up with. So when I look at something like, basic repairs, no spending in the last 3 years, it's a few $100, but it's like, geez, that seems to me to be something I really want to fund. I really don't like kicking the can down the road on repairs at the high school. But so I'm rambling a bit, but it's just sort of initially as I look at this, I don't love going through and being like, staff hours is out and repairs should be in.
Right. Right.
So that's my sort of 10,000 foot view of this. I don't know.
I think you did a great job. I would go back to where we started, $609,000 increase in operations, almost 300 of it from special ed. We asked you to cut 100,000. You simply cut 100,000 out of the $300,000 increase. You didn't ask for any additional FTEs. You moved the puzzle pieces around to make them work the way you see fit. There's a lot of finding a little bit here and a little bit there, a lot of shaving. I mean, the electricity piece gives you a big chunk. I think it's great. We asked for 100. You came in at $99,094. I don't know how we could ask for more than that. And I think anybody is going to say, well, can you do more? We're at 4.75% now instead of 5.06. Given what you did in the beginning, I think it's outstanding. In the line item world, I don't want to do your job. Spent too many years sitting in these chairs doing that job when we probably shouldn't have been. So thank you for doing it, and I would concur with what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think two thoughts. One is I want to go back to the staffing parts at the bottom, but before that, I would like to echo what Rob said. I mean, this matches our contract effectively, which I think is remarkable. I will also say I do want to make sure that at the end of the day, though, you guys have the ability, for the amount that we're cutting, I still want you to do what is best from the district from an expenditure perspective. And if these shift, that is fine with me as a school board member. I feel like this is so much detailed work that needs throughout the year change, right? So I just want to speak to your point where I also don't want to get to the world where we're saying, yes, please cut $500 from the staff flower budget. That stinks. Lucy, are you out?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I wouldn't blame you if you were. I know.
She's got the things she wants to go.
Yeah. I will also say that I feel like this is something that we are really trying to get a lot of clarity on of what are we actually using at the building, what do these line items look like. I will say that as a district, I don't think it feels like we have amazing supply or all of these things. I don't think anyone, thinks that we have an abundance of pencils everywhere or, it's just one of those things where we are continuing to, relative to overall inflation, keep the budget level effectively on the operation side, which is effectively a cut, which is going to at some point be really complicated and hard for us as a district. And I just want to recognize that fact. That said, all of the things that we think about economically, I fully recognize where we are as a town, and I do appreciate it. I will say I've thought a lot about the salary and benefit reductions. I think a lot about the facilities piece. I think I said to you, Amy, every February and every April, a bout of norovirus runs through the schools that just leaves vomit everywhere at the lower levels, and I just appreciate literally did your kids ever have stomach bugs? But it's there's a lot of, and I just think about our janitors having overtime because they are asked to come into the schools and wipe stuff down.
Kids.
So our facilities staff works really, really hard, and I want to make sure that we, if and when we need them to come in because of things like illness or whatever, that we're able to take care of it. Right? And then I defer to you guys with the substitute budget, but I also want to make sure that we are covered there. Suzanne, draft.
My brain just went.
So I'm happy that you were able to make some cuts at your discretion. Some of these are, if I know contractually, budgeting for something that is negotiated, but then they're not going to use. But to me, that's not a hard cut. If they're not going to use it anyway, or if we're kind of padding an ask based on what somebody might want versus actuals, and I do understand inflation. So I think you guys came in lean to begin with, and I'm glad that you made additional cuts at your discretion with maybe a little bit of direction from us. But I don't think that these are necessarily super hard cuts. The water bubbler is going to get fixed from this year's money. To your point, a couple $100 in supplies isn't going to prevent somebody from getting an education. But the nature of the beast is that we're, up against, a situation where people, can't, I guess, many people in town can't kind of afford the taxes that are already charged. So
No, I think you guys did a great job trying to cut this as, so that people get what they need. I don't know if, it's not flat, but I don't think that could happen.
My brain came back online, thankfully. A little bit to echo, folks. I agree with Rob and what other folks have said. I think you guys did a great job. And to Jonathan's point, I don't want to make any of these decisions. And so we turned it over to you, and you did it, which is fantastic. Whether or not the cuts are easy or hard, I'm glad I don't have to make that decision either. I think I am routinely frustrated that we are put in this position because our state does not fund our education in a way that they are constitutionally supposed to. I know there's nothing we can do about that. I make this point every year. I will continue to make this point. Our education is good because of our property taxpayers. So I think this is great. To echo Dulcie's point, I do worry about the facilities, overtime and substitute budget if we have children with the flu or barfing all over the place. No, it's legitimate. I will say the one thing, and this is a little bit to budget reductions, and this is just overall with budget. Last night I was in it is newly renamed to the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting. And one thing that came up, and it is relevant to the schools as well, to the town, is just thinking about future planning and forward looking. And what is challenging about having to do a budget where we are doing things like we have not spent in the last 3 years, and so we are going back to actuals, is that it ends up limiting us so that we are not able to do as much future looking or forward looking and future planning. I think we have done an amazing job this year in being able to come up with the safety project. And I would love for us as a board to continue to do as much as we are able to within the budget that we have to do that future looking. Because to the point of the individual I was talking to, even if we don't have the money now, if we at least have a vision or a plan, something to work towards, I am hopeful that our community would come along with us, because while we are not drowning in pencils, it would still be great if we could offer, while we are a small shop, offer more classes in the high school, get more kids out of study hall and into different electives. But that takes people and that takes money.
Anything else before we talk about the actual number? Because I think the biggest thing is I want to figure out, do we want to go with the reduction plus addition? There's a $58,000 number on the first page. Then we could add the $40,000 salary and benefit line to that to get to $98,000. We could do partial of that, in the context of a $20-something million budget. We're splitting hairs here, but I think we're trying to figure out what the right line is. So any other things about any of the content that's in here?
Can I just ask a question about the overtime in the facilities? I'm assuming there is still a budget for overtime beyond this.
And there's still a budget there.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're not cutting the ability for them to do the overtime. When I was speaking with Jim, we were talking about, his ideas and his plans and watching what his staff was doing. And so I added a little bit of money there to cover his team. But based on our actuals, we feel like we can make do with this.
When is the threshold of the year where we get enough information on revenue to be able to say, if there was going to be overtime in the spring, that you could potentially increase that relative to the number that's set? Basically what I'm trying to figure out is we budget very conservatively on revenue. We don't want to plan to ever go beyond that, but if there is an overage, is that something where, we're able to start seeing that, and if there was an overtime request, that we'd be able to make a judicious recommendation to add more overtime money back in or substitute budget, right? Does that question make sense?
Shift it from another.
Yeah, so basically be able to say we'll have more, so if there is.
Reduce it now, but maybe add a little bit back in later.
Is that feasible or not?
Yes, we could definitely look at that, in December, and then when we have an idea of what the warrants look like, then we would also know what your thoughts are about using fund balance, and that goes into the whole revenue pieces as well.
Okay.
So absolutely.
Okay, that's helpful.
I'm going to make a motion that we accept the $99,094 in reductions. Presented.
Second.
Expenditures.
The full amount? Can I ask you another question? Okay, sorry, second, okay, discussion, thank you, okay, great, I can do this, I can run a meeting. So my question is, we have not necessarily done a fulsome presentation, like we did an update, right, was that it, November? I don't remember what it was. I was there, it was November, I don't know what month it was. But we don't quite know, but I think the thing that I'm trying to think of is that like if there are additional cuts to be made, it will be that will be starting to cut to program staffing, et cetera. And I don't think we want to like not do cuts or do cuts because of optics. But if we're doing this, like this is a full kit and caboodle. And then I will have a hard time making additional cuts beyond that. Is that understood? Because I will.
I think,
pretty hard.
For me, we move forward with this budget, with these cuts, and if the budget committee is not pleased or wants more, then it's going to be their onus of responsibility to make those cuts. And then we'll be in one of those dynamics where it's the budget committee's budget versus what the school board recommends.
And to date, the budget committee has not given any indication, but
I haven't been there in a little bit, but
I,
they also don't, haven't seen the numbers. I mean, they got the soft approach, I guess, the last one, and everybody's neck snapped off. And
Yep.
so 99.94.
I guess more than anything, I would like some certainty coming out of this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So we can continue to muddle around tens of thousands of dollars, or we can just simply say, this is essentially exactly what we asked for a month ago, and it's been received, let's move on.
I think I would echo Dulce's point. I would not want to cut money in this. Like, I support it, and I also, like, if they were to come back and say, I want another 100,000,
And then we'll have to cross that bridge if that bridge even.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jonathan, you're doing math. What's shaking?
No, the thing that I'm thinking about, I was looking at numbers, but I'm listening to the conversation. I guess to your point, how much input have we gotten from the budget committee to consider when we?
Yeah.
There was not a lot of questions when we talked through a
So
nominal.
this is the concern that I have as I listen to this conversation, right? Because the budget committee has value, and so I wouldn't want to be in a position where we haven't gotten their input and considered their input.
But I also don't know, less the full presentation in January, and we can't wait till January, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no.
Like, we have to sort of get to a number so we can start prepping that, because that takes a ton of work. So I get your point, Rob, like, we have to put the wheels on the track, but I talked
I'm just
through
talking about the
5.0
number.
Yeah, I talked through 5.06%, everyone was like, okay, and asked questions. But it wasn't like that sounds great, but it wasn't a heads popping.
But now we've reduced that number. We've distilled it down.
I think that's kind of our job, isn't it? Like to get to the closest thing to fiscally responsible as we can. We can put a budget that has a little bit of fat in it in front of the budget committee, and if the budget committee doesn't say anything, great, we can pass it on to voters, but then it's worst chance of it passing. I think if we publicize that we did the best we could, that we have a better chance of getting the budget committee on board, and then it's a dual effort to try and publicize that we were fiscally responsible. I know, like, you know, $100 here and $5,000, but that added up to $100,000, which is what we asked them to do. And $100,000 is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
13 cents off the tax rate.
I know it doesn't seem like, you know, when it's 500 here and 500 here, but
No, I'm not arguing with that. I mean, the other thing that we could do is we could say this is our recommendation. The budget committee, to be fair, can also say we want to add things back.
Well,
into
and
the
that's the
budget.
other thing that I'm thinking
Right.
about is I think that in the presentation to the budget committee, which I'm sure you're probably already thinking about, I mean, we would want to talk about the initial number and the $99,094 that was cut and how this was taken out so that they can consider that as well. Because they could come back and say, we think that the, you know, 40,572 should come back in, or whatever.
I honestly don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they will either, but I'm not
Really
here
don't.
to, I'm not here to spin hypotheticals. I'm just saying that I think it would be
No,
good for them to have the
I'm
information.
with Suzanne on this. I'm here to do our job, not the budget committee's job. I am not comfortable with the budget as it is with that amount. I would like to cut $100,000 from it. That's what we talked about a month ago. That is what has been done. I really don't understand why we're having a pause at this moment when we've asked the superintendent and the business administrator to do that work. They've now done that work, and for some reason, we're not moving forward. I'm very confused.
I'm confused at your confusion. I don't think anybody's saying that we don't move forward. What I'm suggesting is that information about how the sausage is made
As
is
part of the
presented.
presentation.
Yeah, that's what I just said. It's not confusing.
No. What,
Yeah.
what I'm
It's
hearing
pretty
is,
direct.
let's wait and let the budget committee hear the whole thing, so that's what I'm hearing. I'm
That's-
not
That's not what
That's-
I'm saying.
I haven't
What
said that.
What I had said a month ago was that I was comfortable.
Maybe a
like,
little more clarity would be helpful about that.
What I was saying was that a month ago I was comfortable with like a 75K. I think it's okay to cut these lines. I think that is all right, right? I think that you and I are at a separate set of numbers. It's also 25K in the context of our budget. It's not going to be what makes or breaks the budget, right? I also have full trust in your like narrative capability to go and deliver this. So I think it's just everyone's getting comfortable with what we're about to do. I know you've been comfortable for a while, so I get it, right? I think it takes a minute for the rest of us to get there. Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm not comfortable with it. I'm suggesting that they should understand that this is where this extra $99,094 is coming from. The kind of work that's going into this to support this. That's what I'm suggesting. That's what I think is important for them to have that information. Lauren's the only one here
Always
from the budget committee. So he's the only one listening to this conversation.
well, the meetings are public, so if we, you know, the strategy was to sort of, okay, fine, we'll go back and cut 100, knowing that it's already sort of been done. I get what you're saying. I also was under the impression that we were going to kind of present the kind of what Rob was saying. I thought that's what you folks were saying, and I was like, I also was confused. But I also trust, Rob, that you will present the whole story, that, you know, it was lean to begin with. This is what we asked for. These are where the cuts came from.
Right.
And then we let
Right.
them.
And before the full January presentation, we will see that presentation. Rob usually does a dry run with us, and I think we will do it the night before the Wednesday meeting. I'm pretty sure we meet exactly the night before. So we will have the opportunity to weigh in on the full presentation prior to the school board presentation to the budget committee and can talk through narrative, process, all of the jazz. At which point we should all be very clear on what that is, all right?
I think we have a very good story, budget-wise, to tell this year. So, you know, I have a lot of confidence in the numbers and the process that Amy and Laura went through, and they, you know, as I've said before, in previous years, we were left with a lot of work to do. And we didn't have that this year. So
Solid
pretty
question.
straightforward.
Is there motions on the floor?
And, well, any other discussion? Okay. All right, all those in all those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you both
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
It's a remarkable amount of work and we really appreciate it. It's also a great format that is easy for all of us to understand. So I very much appreciate all of it. Okay. This, I will just say, front-loaded Rob wants to be, this was his deadline of trying to see if we could get to a pretty good place. That took an incredible amount of work that started in September. And I want to recognize Laura again, going through and changing every single note in those sheets that Rob has in front of him is an absolutely insane amount of work. Like a lot of that stuff is like not hard-coded. It is hard-coded. It's like there's nothing, it's just a bear. So thank you.
You're welcome. I missed one line, the driver's ed line.
Yeah.
I'll get it next time.
Question. You were like, damn it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're right. It's not part of the local revenue anymore.
But really appreciate it. Also appreciate both of you meeting with all of your leadership team, all of the both on the principals and across the building. Everyone took a really hard look at what they were doing. I also think this sets us up well for analysis for future years in terms of thinking about where are we, what do we actually need. Okay. Anything else you want to say to the team?
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're poised to set up for some new analytics next year. Based on the way that these budgets are lining up, we'll be able to give you reports a lot easier than we did in the past. So I'm excited for that.
That's nice.
You won't have to do every single calculation you can. Great.
Sounds exciting.
I'm a big
It's
fan.
so exciting. It is really meaningful.
I love reports. Literally.
Okay, now in something that's crazy, we're going to talk about the 26-27 calendar. I want to tell people we were on a call earlier this week thinking about Memorial Day 2027 is a little bit of a stretch for my brain to get to. So thank you, Amy and team, for starting to work through the mechanics of what that school year will look like. Can you talk us through it?
Yes, so a couple of things to note. Let me just make sure that the most recent draft, I actually had Memorial Day and you corrected me on the 24th. And it's actually the 31st. So a couple of things to think about as you look at the calendar. We, by contract, cannot start sooner than the fourth Monday in August. And so a couple of drafts, we went through different iterations. We have school starting on the 24th and the 31st. There always is the goal, if you've ever taught in an elementary school, you know that once they come back from Memorial Day, you're really just trying to hold the lid on. So we're really trying to get out as soon as possible, not going into that last week into June. So we are targeting a start date for staff of August 24th. We have a couple of days that we open school. Students would come back on August 26th. And then we do have a little bit of trickiness to navigate next year with elections. And we have decided as a district to not have students in the building when we are the polling station. Although we do have the gates now, it just seems like it makes sense. So for some of the election days next year, you're looking at September 8th is the state primary election. So we won't have students in the building, but that would be a PD day for our HEA staff. And then looking into October, typically October 9th is a day that most schools have. The other piece that we try to coordinate our calendar with Concord so that our students don't miss CRTC. So October 9th is a PD day in that district as well. And then November is, you know, it's always historically broken
No
up
school
like this.
November?
Yeah. So we will not have
That's what
any
we call it.
activities on election day. I think that just thinking about the midterm elections, that should be a pretty good turnout when looking at former voting records here in town, midterm elections. So we will not have students
Is
or
this-
staff in the building.
I'm sorry to stop you. Is the thinking that just having that many people coming in and out of the building, in and out of the driveways, it just is a hazard to have
Traffic,
kids
parking,
around?
you know, we use the high school a lot for full full school community gatherings.
Right.
And that would just be too much
Yeah.
to navigate.
Yeah.
So November 3rd would be no school for anyone.
So a security concern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amy, can I ask a silly question? If we're in hours or days?
We calculate both. So you'll see the number of student days is 177, but we have way more hours than what we need.
Okay.
And so we usually build in about 2 or 3 snow days. And then I've already been asked 5,000 times if I'm going to do instructional snow days, and that gets problematic because not all of our students
Yeah, have a
take
certain
home their
number of attendance,
devices.
yeah.
And so we would, look at calculating our hours.
Do you have to choose with the state?
No, you just have to make sure it's just,
Certain number of hours?
yes.
Okay.
yes. They require you to do instructional hours.
Oh.
So then when you look at November, we do have we have some parent-teacher conference days, and then Thanksgiving, our holiday recess this year. We would not have 2 full weeks. We'd have 2 full weeks this year, so next year. And then looking at that between semester day at the high school, that's primarily a PD day for the high school staff, but the elementary teachers and students are not here. Those are some sort of holdovers from the CBA, which get complicated. When I met with the union on Monday as we were navigating, it is strange that middle school kids don't come one day, elementary kids don't come one day, high school kids. February recess coincides with Concord as well. We have a our town election next year is on March 9th, and then spring recess, Memorial Day, and then targeting graduation again for the first Friday in June. A lot of conversation around whether or not graduation should be the 4th or the 11th, but overall we're sticking with the 4th.
Really? Wow. It's exciting.
Fast follow. It's a lot of organizing for 4 days.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
But the alternative is to have your seniors in school until June 11th and only 2 days for underclassmen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that didn't fly.
All right.
But it is a quick turnaround. time.
Lucy's like, this is great for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for
This
the
is
honest
important feedback. Yeah.
And then the last couple of years, we've had ESY be 4 days a week for 3 weeks, and that has seemed to have gone well with staff.
Extended school year.
Yes, extended school year. So those are for students that need a school year beyond the regular. Last year, we held it all at Harold Martin. That also seemed to go well. There were some cross grade level groupings and things like that, and I think we were able to be more efficient in terms of transportation and personnel.
And are most people, I haven't said this for 2027 because I'm not a lunatic, but are most people taking that July 4th, which is on a Sunday? Are they taking it on the 5th or are they taking it on the 3rd? Because it looks like this is the substitute day will be noted on July 5th or the holiday.
Yeah, I don't think we would do that for ESY. You know, historically, if we have July 5th would be an instructional day.
Okay.
The only thing that could change this, I think, there's always an RSA, especially our current governor really wants all schools to start after Labor Day. So if that were to happen and, that would pass, we would have to revisit this because we are starting before Labor Day.
When will we find that out?
Probably June, May, June.
That sounds about right.
So we would have to make full shifts. But I could have a draft ready to go just in case.
Okay. Because it's worth noting, like for everyone who's been in this district for a while, like typically, at least in the last little bit, the kids come, they go to 2 days of school and then it's Labor Day. Next year they will come for a week basically, which is remarkable.
Awesome.
So they'll start on Wednesday, and then they'll go because Labor Day is like comparatively.
Wait, when is Labor Day?
Labor Day's on the 7th. So the kids will get the 4th because of the fair and the 7th off. So that we'll get like a reasonable amount of instructional time prior to Labor Day.
Does that mean the 3rd is Townie Day?
Sorry?
Yes.
Does that mean the 3rd is Townie Day?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not put that on the calendar, Jonathan, but I can add it. Just let me know what color you'd like it
Guess
to
they don't have that in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. But it's funky, really. So
And that would push us out to getting out of school then.
quite a bit.
The 22nd. That would push us out so late. Blah. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Any questions about the calendar? Just so everyone knows, what happens is Amy and her team will draft this. They will meet with the HEA because this is a contractual thing that we want to make sure that our unions are in agreement with. We'll run through feedback, typically run through to make sure that all the dates are right because it's a funky thing to navigate, and then it comes here. So it goes through a lot of reads first.
And so you would be looking to agree to this or vote on it at the next meeting. For the CBA, it has to be to you and agreed upon by the second meeting in December.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll vote on this. Okay, great. Any feedback, please send to Amy and I. All right. Can I actually go back to other budget documents in the folder? So we have that budget process calendar.
Yes.
Has that been checked for all the dates in between all the things? Or are we talking about that during consent agenda?
I updated it because there was just an update to the public hearing.
Yep.
That it's now on January 6th, so I just moved it.
Yep.
And I added that we did the revenue, so it had
Our
minimal
public hearing,
changes.
yes. But and then between when the public hearing for the budget committee and our meeting is, our day count for all of that is
We're good.
Good. Thank
Yes,
you.
we have plenty of time.
Okay. I thought so.
Yes.
But I really
Even with
don't.
the snow date, we still
wanna
have
go
plenty of
there.
time.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, great. All right. Policy. Let's hit it.
All right, so we have several policies. Oh, it died. There we go. I can talk again. We have several policies that have come for a final read this evening. Before I go through them, does anyone have any questions about them? Because these are just a little funky tonight because policy IKF, which is high school graduation requirements, that incorporates a policy that we already have, which is IKFA. And so before we adopt these or before we approve these policies, we're going to need to formally rescind IKFA. So I didn't know if there are any questions or comments before we move forward. Yeah, seeing none. Great. So here are the policies we have. So first, actually, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion. Is there a motion to formally rescind policy IKFA, early graduation?
Second.
Are you making the motion?
So you say no.
You need a motion?
And yes.
So
Oh,
moved.
I would.
Yeah.
So moved. There you go.
No,
Sorry,
Okay.
my
Okay.
fault.
Awesome.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Just jumping the
Great.
gun.
Love it. All right, great. So that's been officially rescinded. So then the policies that I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the following policies as presented. IK, earning of high school credit, achievement of competencies. IKF, high school graduation requirements. IKFG, career exploration, readiness, pathways, and credentials. IHBI, alternative learning plans. IHBH, extended learning opportunities. IMBD, high school credit for 7th, 8th grade coursework. IMGA, service animals. IMGB, therapy animals. IMG, animals in the schools. And EFAA, meal charging. I made the motion. Does anyone want a second?
Second.
Great. Just the brief discussion is these are obviously our suite of I policies that are either required by law, policies that we either have or are required to have or needed to update. And I had not heard back from anyone.
No, they're
So
beautiful.
yeah, we did a lot of really great work.
They're outstanding. Thank you.
Do you want
Go for it.
to?
Go
Oh,
for it.
okay, great. Well, no, I made the motions.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Niceborough Policy Committee. All right, that wraps up our current business. Are you ready? Amy Doyle, for our consent agenda.
Yeah, we are ready.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I know, we're getting a little punchy over here.
Yeah.
I'll try to lock it down,
It's
guys.
getting late.
Since when my brain starts to sort of disaggregate.
Oh, there's an artist.
So personnel?
Yeah,
Pretty exciting.
Don't worry, this will be efficient.
Yeah.
Our personnel report for tonight, we have one new hire. Her name is Kimberly Reel. She'll be joining me in the business office as our new accountant.
Woohoo! Hear about that.
Not easy to come by these days.
No, they're not.
So that's great.
Welcome.
It was interesting to sit in on that interview. They talked a totally different language. They got very excited about accounts payable, and they asked strange questions like, "What's your favorite what was the
Excel
thing?
function?
Yeah. And I was like,
God.
okay, I'll just,
God.
yeah. It was,
Excel functions in
That's how
math
I knew it
team,
was
y'all are
automated.
different breed.
yeah.
Yep.
Amazing.
And there has been a last minute change. We did have a current employee with an additional contract, and they have since backed out. So there is nothing
Oh.
else for the personnel report.
And then winter coach.
Yep.
I think Dan had talked about that. We are bringing forth an assistant Nordic ski coach, given the number of kids that really want to be on the Nordic ski team. So that's Julie Zapton.
Julie Zapton. All right. Great.
For donations tonight, we have one. The Public School Foundation has given us a artist in residence grant of $5,961.04. This replaces, plus actually a little bit more, the state grant that was terminated this year. So we thank the Public Schools Foundation for that. And Kim Emerson, our Harold Martin and Maple Street teacher, is going to be responsible for that one.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Great. And that project we'll start in the spring. They are going to be painting some sheds with a mural artist.
They are doing the show.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you to the Public School Foundation. They do really beneficial work for our schools.
And then the last piece we have is, as Amy alluded to earlier, there is a proposal in your file to consider for Plodzik and Sanderson, who's our financial accountant and our audit team. They have given me a couple of options: a 1-year engagement covering this fiscal year only, or a 3-year option, which is a savings to us. And then the single audit, as you see in option 2 and option 1, is required if we receive more than $1 million in federal grants in a given year. Then they do an additional compliance audit. So that is only if we need it. It is in our budget for next year, just in case anything changes. But I do think that is a fee that we probably will not end up incurring. And so I do ask that we vote to accept option 2, which is a 3-year engagement with Plodzik and Sanderson, covering this year and then a future 2 years for audits. Remember, audits are required by law. We have to have an independent auditor, and there's only about 3 in the state.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great.
Also, thank you. The audit is a remarkable amount of work every year. It's just
So
appreciate
much
it.
work.
Mhm.
And we usually have to get that additional audit. Right? Don't we usually have to get like the additional little audit, single audit?
We do, past couple of years, we have not hit the threshold.
Oh,
thank
good.
goodness.
Oh.
But there have been a couple of other audits that we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
Great.
So many.
All righty. Amy, go.
I just want to thank everyone. I just want you to know, calling a snow day is stressful business. And it was my first time, and everyone on my team was great. Jim, the town, Matt, WMU. I mean, it was, I was watching it like it was counting down to New Year's Eve. So I appreciate everyone who first looked at whether or not they got the message. That was really great. I was thankful that we were able to do that over the weekend and really update all of our Parent Square notification. And I'll just say to families, if you still did not receive a notification, we are using smart alerts. So you may get a text, an email, or a phone call. If one of those things, if it is a failure, is what they call it in the system, they will try another number. But if you want to receive it in a different way or more ways, please reach out to your student's school or the SAU, and we will navigate that. But I think we had good response, and thank you to my Facebook team that put it on Facebook. And I think that it was the right call. We had over 700 cancellations. So I waited until there were 500 before. So felt like that was safe.
She's like,
God.
I did.
I'm going to now do that on Polymarket. Amy Doyle is not going to call the day until the 500
I know.
previous in there.
Maybe I'll get a little less stressed about it, but it was a lot. Congratulations on your first day as superintendent.
Yeah.
It's a
You
big
don't
moment.
get
Yeah, it's a big moment. It's
Really,
really, there's a lot of,
beginning too, man.
I know.
And then when I went outside at 5 a.m. and it was already
We got
snowing,
elections
I was
coming.
like, thank
It just seems
God.
like, I don't
Right.
know, been
I
walking.
know
and
some
like,
schools in upstate New York had another one today too.
I've
Yeah.
never gone on to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for soup update?
That's all.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. Okay, any discussion? Terrific. All those in favor?
Aye.
Guys, we're rounding the corner here. Let's do this. We've got committee updates. We'll see anything other than what we talked about.
No, we meet next week.
Yes.
Next week, CIP,
I don't think, no, we haven't met.
okay, CIA. Oh my God, that was, I saw Andrew and Suzanne next to CIP and I was like, what's happening? CIA? No, you're meeting later, right?
18.
Yeah.
You don't need
Great. Okay, safety and security, we're meeting in January, right, Rob?
Correct.
Okay. EMC, I don't think we've met since our last meeting. That should be coming up. I don't know when. I need to figure it out. That's on the website. Finance, we
That's
just,
next Monday, right?
Yeah,
Monday,
15.
It's right
Oh,
before
15.
our next meeting.
yeah, 16. All right, finance is next Monday. Wellness,
Is in December.
great, terrific. So we will have a really amazing set of committee updates at our next
Wow.
meeting. PD, anything there?
No.
Great. All right, we are up to public comment, 3 minutes. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate your time. Other business, anyone? I'm going to chime in here. If people haven't seen it, the Starry Weekend roster for this weekend looks bonker balls between stuff in the village and Hopkinton, being able to get historical society tours and looking at the old fire truck to so many things happening in Kentuka. It is truly exciting.
Yeah.
Also, at the farmer's market this weekend is the kids market.
That's right.
So
What is the kids market?
that is where kids can make and sell
Non-food
Stuff.
items.
Oh,
Non-food
like,
items.
so
Oh.
My little baker's word.
whatever they're working on, I can tell you that my boys were taking advantage of the snow day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're cranking out Christmas ornaments.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's going to be,
That'll be here on Saturday morning, starts at 8.
Yeah. And the holiday markets for the next couple of weeks should also be really great. But it just from our town, I'm very excited about how much engagement
What else?
there is.
Fire and Cars rented out the old frame
Yeah,
shop
it's amazing.
right by.
Yeah.
There's a fun ski night
gallery,
happening at
yeah.
Cedar and Main on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And I'm loving the clock in front of the framework.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that clock's ball, Santa.
I call it the
A
North
little bit of
Pole.
Yeah.
a
He
little
made
bit
it.
of color.
I asked him about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful, man.
Anything else? All right, guys, I thought 8:30, so we're just a little shy. I can keep you for 10 minutes, but I think everyone should go home to their families. Thank you all so much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.